every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome in. It is Steve Sparky Pfeiffer live from the Wisconsin State Fair. I hope you all are well. We are out here inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And, baby, it is something out here at the Wisconsin State Fair. We were out here last Thursday for opening day. It was by far probably the busiest that we have seen to this point on an opening day since we've been out here for sure. Then on Friday, they were super busy. Saturday and Sunday, we weren't out here, or I wasn't. Saturday, College Sports Weekly was out here. Charlie, you were back in the studio. Don Wachillis, Dan Underberg out here Saturday morning from 9 to 11. Did they say it was pretty busy out here when they were out here Saturday morning?
Well, that first hour, they were there before the fair actually opened.
Because they opened at 10.
And they
right.
said it was still super busy. Like, people going around setting up, all the trucks moving by them and everything. They were a little upset because they just wanted one soda, and they couldn't get a soda because it wasn't open. I was like, it's not open. I don't know what to tell you.
Feel your pain. Feel
exactly.
your pain. Yep.
And then the first hour, they did the national anthem, which was funny because I got to see Don and Dan just stand up like right before the show went on, and their little characters down on the icon was fun. And then, after that first hour, that second hour got started, and the fair got started, and it was packed immediately, almost. Like, the moment it opened up, they had people around them, talking to them, could hear it just getting live there. It was really cool.
No doubt. So then we come out today, and I was filling in for on the Mason Crosby show before this, noon to 2. Mitch Thunder Nellis off today. He'll be out here at the State Fair tomorrow doing Mason's show. Mason obviously lives in Tennessee, so he'll be where he is. And then obviously get to the show out here today, 2 to 5. We'll be out here doing pre- and post-game on Wednesday for the leadoff show and post-game show. So I'll be out here till 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Back out here again for pre- and post Sunday afternoon. And that will be at 2 to 3 and then 6 to 8 on Sunday afternoon with the franchise Tim Allen doing Brewers post-game show coming up on Sunday. So looking forward to all of that. Got to start off the show to tell you first that Tim Dillard, Brewers TV analyst, he normally joins us every Monday at 2:20 p.m. Told Charlie he couldn't do it today, so no Tim Dillard today at 2:20, which is kind of sad, to be honest with you. I don't get a little Tim Dillard action today.
That's what you'll survive, Sparky. You get some Peter Bukowski action today. That's pretty fun.
You're right, yes. I do get some Peter Bukowski action. Peter Bukowski, obviously, with the Locked On Packers, as well as the Leap newsletter that him and Jason Hirschhorn do. So Peter Bukowski will join us when we talk about the green and gold coming up at 4 o'clock. Plus, we'll hear from Matt LaFleur. He talked earlier today. We'll get some Matt LaFleur coming up in a little bit, too. I want to start out talking about the Green Bay Packers and family night that occurred on Friday night. And then, of course, we've got some practices going on between now and then. Javon Bullard apparently in a walking boot. That is not good news for this Green Bay Packers team because he is by far and away their best slot corner right now for the Green Bay Packers. So you would get a little bit concerned about that. Carrington Valentine's been dealing with some hamstring stuff, so still waiting on him. Keyshawn Nixon stinks, so we have that to deal with. He lost, it appears, he may have lost that starting corner role, at least temporarily, because yesterday for certain, St. Juice and Cisse were both the starting corners yesterday. It was not Keyshawn Nixon. Now, Keyshawn Nixon eventually ended up back out there with the ones a little bit, but he did not start out with the ones. And then today, obviously, at practice, something else to keep an eye on. I want to know from you guys, what's your biggest takeaway right now from this Packers training camp, where we sit right now? I'm not necessarily, because I know a lot of times I'm very guilty of coming out with, so what's your biggest concern? I don't want to do that. I don't want to lead you to negativity, right? If you want to bring green and gold glasses and you want to spew a lot of positivity like my guy Charlie Usen does every day on this show, by all means, get your Charlie on and bring some positivity to the show. You can call up and talk about what makes you happy. Maybe that's what stood out to you, a positive, right? It can be hot, it can be positive, it can be negative. Doesn't matter to me. Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Is the number for you to call in or text in and be all set. I had a couple of texts that were coming in earlier. One from Tommy and Dallas. As the biggest Keyshawn Nixon fan in the world, I am devastated to see him show his complete lack of skill and attention to detail on full display for Packer Nation. He does not belong on an NFL roster. That is from Tommy West-Allis earlier this afternoon on the talk and text line. Let me start first by saying I disagree. I'm not going to go there and say he doesn't belong on an NFL roster. He absolutely belongs on an NFL roster and playing in the NFL. Now, we can have the conversation about whether or not Keisean Nixon is a good starting cornerback in the National Football League. We could certainly have a conversation about whether or not Keisean Nixon is a true starting number one cornerback in the NFL. That conversation can be had. I'm not there, Charlie, to say, he shouldn't be on a roster. He sucks. Go play in Canada. I'm not going to say that, Charlie.
I'm not going to say that yet either. He has made plays over the past couple seasons that I think show that he deserves to at least have a role on a team. Leadership-wise, he has proven for this Packers defense that he's extremely important with that as well, and getting energy from the rest of the guys in that group. I think all of that is really important to Keisean Nixon's play style, and I think some team would be interested in having that at least as a cornerback 3 on their roster. Like, you need to at least have 3 of those guys, and he's good enough to be at least one of those 3 guys in your group, if not one of your top 5 guys, which is usually what teams are carrying. I think with the Green Bay Packers, though, when you see him have moments like this at practice, and you see guys like Brandon Cisse and Ben St. Juste start to get over him in the depth chart and make those bounds, guys that were just added to the roster this past year, it really makes you as a Packers fan go, Brian Gutekunst, Packers front office, but what were we doing last season if it was this easy to make these changes with a middle-of-the-road free agent and a second-round pick? Like, if it's that quick to put those guys over Keisean Nixon, that tells me you could have done that last season. You could have found players to fit that type of role last season and make adjustments in the second half of the year when he was struggling really bad. I understand the first half of the season he had his moments and he wasn't nearly as bad, but the first half of the season he has Micah Parsons, and that helps a whole ton to that defense, not just Keisean Nixon, but everybody in that group. And the moment he went away, you saw that weakness of the defensive backroom, saw the weakness of the pass rush, both be kind of put out into the spotlight. And because of that, going into this season, I don't think if you're going to have moments like this where Keisean Nixon, a guy that you knew struggled in the second half last year, or the pass rush, which you knew struggled in the second half last year, if any of those guys are underperforming, you have to make those changes as quick as possible, because you probably should have made those changes last season.
The thing about this deal with Keisean is they're not going to be quick to judge, because as was brought up earlier by Mason Crosby and Jason B. Hirschhorn when we did the Mason Crosby show, because injuries are so prevalent in the National Football League, and especially at cornerback. Look at last year and how hurt they were last year across this Packers football team, and they have for the last several years. That's part of the reason why they don't ever make a run in the postseason, because half the roster's hurt. Having said that, I think if you get to Labor Day weekend, right before Labor Day weekend, somewhere in that area, and if St. Juste is still playing better than him, Cisse is still playing better than him, and Valentine is healthy, if those 3 things are in play, and you're struggling on the offensive line like you currently are still at that point, and if Banks is still hurt or you lose another offensive lineman to injury, I just don't see why you wouldn't consider possibly moving on from Keisean Nixon at that point. Now, if you're hurt and one of those 3 cornerbacks I mentioned are hurt and aren't going to start the season, you can't trade Keisean Nixon. Then he's got to stay. The other aspect of this, too, is how did Keisean Nixon get on this team to begin with? Special teams, returning kicks. Keisean Nixon was the one that said, I want to be CB1. I don't want to return kicks anymore. Well, good news, Keisean. If you're going to be on this roster going forward and you're not CB1, CB2, or CB3, then guess what? You're going back to returning kicks again. That is a positive for this Packers team if they do keep Keisean, because, again, providing Bullard comes back at some point in a walking boot, if Bullard is your slot and the other 2 are your stars, that's 3 corners off the top. Now Valentine is essentially your 4th. Well, you're not seeing more than 4 wide hardly ever in the NFL. So those are your 4 corners. There's no need to hold on to Keisean Nixon unless you're going to say he's primarily going to be our special teams kick returner and punt returner going forward at $6 million a year, whatever they're paying him. And that's going to be his role on this team. And that way, I don't have to get my wide receivers potentially hurt going out there and returning kicks. I don't have to get somebody else, a safety or corner, that's a backup, get them potentially hurt going out there returning kicks. Keisean, that's going to be your duty. If somebody gets hurt, then you'll get to play. Otherwise, we're going to focus you on special teams going forward. Will he be happy? No, sir. Will he complain to the media? I hope not. But if he does, then get your butt out of here. I'll trade you, sorry, butt, and we'll move on without you. But Keyshawn Nixon has a long ways to go before we get to that point. He can play himself back into a position of being out there and starting and so forth. It's not over yet, but it could be a situation where he simply has no room at the end for Keyshawn Nixon.
I mean, I don't understand why the Packers should give him that opportunity, though. If he says he doesn't want to do when they already put him into that role in the first place, and then you sign Sky Moore this offseason to be that return guy for you, there is no room in that. You can't be here if you're not going to want to play cornerback or be able to play cornerback at a high enough level. We have somebody filling that other spot that we had you in that you could have filled in on. We got young players who are willing to take advantage of this opportunity to jump you in the roster, and you're just not taking that advantage. We're going to have to move on from you. I don't even think if he's not going to be in your cornerback group, that rotation that you're going to have in that first unit, then there's no reason to have him on the roster.
And that really is the other thing, too, is Sky Moore and his role in all this. Because if you decide, hey, man, Keyshawn, you're going to be my return guy now, Sky Moore's out, now maybe a guy like J. Michael Sturdivant ends up being on this roster as another wide receiver. Sturdivant's been looking nice. I know he has a drop a day seemingly, but he's been making some nice plays at wide receiver.
Yeah, he has. I don't know if whether it's Keyshawn Nixon or Sky Moore that gets moved on from. I don't really care who's filling in that spot as long as it's a new name and somebody else that you're willing to give an opportunity to in that spot. Like, that's what matters the most to me. With Keyshawn Nixon, again, it just feels like he's run his course. With Sky Moore, we haven't really seen enough of him. If you're going to move on from him, I want a new name in there, not just Keyshawn Nixon filling in that spot. Or with the wide receiver room, a wide receiver who's actually going to help you out throughout game days, whether it's on special teams or whether it's as a fifth or sixth wide receiver like we're talking about. I want somebody who's going to be using a roster and just not another roster filler player to come in and keep rotating through there while you have the same problems going on.
Tell me this, Charlie Usen. Give me, in your mind, the top 6 wide receivers for the Green Bay Packers right now as we currently sit here today. Because in my mind, that really becomes, or even top 5, whatever, however far you want to go with it, at wide receiver, who are those top 5? Because there is Christian Watson, there is Jaden Reed, and there is Matthew Golden. Now, who are your next 3? Because they're going to keep 6, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your next 3 wide receivers behind those 3 that play above Sky Moore potentially or in place of Sky Moore?
Savion Williams, I think, gets that spot there. I think he's
had a nice couple days.
He's a young player who has a lot of versatility with him there. I think because of the way the Packers have operated in the past, Bo Melton is in that group too. I think he's a guy that just fits with this offense. Matt LaFleur loves him. He's going to do everything. He's going to block really well. And then if it's my last final choice there, I like Will Shepherd a lot. And I think Will Shepherd hasn't gotten enough opportunities within this team when he's been on the practice squad, when he's been brought up from the practice squad. I think that's a guy that I'd give that opportunity over than maybe a J. Michael Sturdivant. But at the same time, those types of players are all kind of in the same caliber to me. So if it were Sturdivant over a Will Shepherd and an Isaiah Neyor, another guy a lot of people have been hyping up a lot, I'm not going to be upset about that.
I mean, if I look at this, I think that's where the issue is kind of at this point, right? So Savion Williams and Bo Melton, I think, are 4 and 5. I agree there. But Sky Moore has to be 6 if he's going to be the punt returner, kick returner. More than likely he's 6, unless they stretch to 7, right? So they can take another receiver, and then Sky Moore becomes that 7th wideout.
He's got to be the kick returner and punt returner, though, like
correct.
all the time.
He's got to be
full-time. Yeah.
Yes, agreed. So if you go that way with it from a specialty standpoint, now you have the conversation. Now, of the guys that are left, I like J. Michael Sturdivant the best. But may I point you to a guy that they just claimed that I'm anxious to see what he looks like, and that's Chris Hilton Jr. that played at LSU. I want to see what he looks like. Again, another guy, a rookie, that they just claimed here in the last, 24 hours or so, something like that, comes in. I want to see what he looks like once we get him into practice. Maybe he'll get some time in the first preseason game because I liked him at LSU. I don't know how he fits with the NFL, but that would be another name I'd be interested to watch.
I think he could be exciting. He was an undrafted free agent by the Washington Commanders, who then waived him Saturday, which is when the Packers were awarded him off of waivers on Sunday. when he passed his physical. He was available for practice today. He's 6 feet tall, 188 pounds, 40-yard dash of a 4.41, a 34.5-inch vertical, and a 122.5-inch broad jump there. Like, he seems like a really great athlete playing from LSU. The wide receiver history that group has brought out in recent years, I think you have to be pretty sure that guy is going to at least have talent on the field for you. Maybe not produce that in actual games, but show that he is an athletic type of player that you can put into spots and at least give him an opportunity to show what he can do. Again, it's just another guy, though, that gets thrown into a group of a bunch of young wide receivers that I think all deserve a chance to at least prove themselves. I think that's what's really exciting about this practice squad group of wide receivers that are all going to be fighting for that 5th or 6th role with the Green Bay Packers.
That's another thing that we can look at, too. Once we get down to, teams making cuts, would they prefer a veteran wide receiver in front of Savion Williams and Bo Melton as that 4th wide receiver? A guy a little bit longer in the tooth, but, knows how to play the game and has played the game at a high level and is without a seat at the table. Do they go that route and sign somebody to a veteran minimum deal to bring in?
They potentially could. There's just not a lot of great names left out on the market.
No, there's not going to be, but he's going to be a 4th receiver, so it doesn't matter if it's a great name or not.
Yeah, but I still think if you're going to bring in a veteran wide receiver to be that 4th guy, you want it to be a guy that has at least had some kind of action within NFL games, has been maybe an important part of a roster at some point. Like, obviously, Tyreek Hill's not going to want to be a 4th wide receiver, and I don't really think you want him in Green Bay anyways. But you start looking down the list of the guys that potentially could be in that realm of player we've talked about. I think you see a Hunter Renfrow, who made a comeback last season after retiring for a short period of time, and maybe he could potentially be in that spot. Sterling Shepard, Zay Jones, those are 3 guys. Outside of that, it's like DeAndre Carter, Dwayne Eskridge.
Yeah, but you're looking at guys that don't have roster on teams right now. I'm saying when you start getting down to making roster cuts, guys that are in camp right now with teams, they're going to eventually, some of these teams are going to go, we're going to go with the younger guy versus the older guy, right? More upside, we're not going to be very good anyhow. We're going to part with the old guy and give these young guy more reps because, again, we're not going to be very good. And from a Packers standpoint, that where it's Super Bowl or bust, they may prefer to add a veteran to that room. We'll see. They may not. They always like going young all the time. Hey, it is day 5 of the Wisconsin State Fair, and our friends from Bod the Yard are giving away a $2,000 in-store credit towards your purchase of 4 custom Adirondack chairs and 2 side tables. To register to win, simply stop by the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network booth right outside the Wisconsin State Fair Expo Center across from the Milk House and scan the QR code. Make sure to come on out here and do that today. These Adirondack chairs are amazing, right? They don't fade. You can leave them outside all year in the snow and everything else. Like, I believe, if memory is correct, they're based out of Minneapolis and Minnesota. So, realistically, they're made for the cold weather, the extreme weather, and everything else. Some of this crap you buy in stores isn't meant to be in the winter, isn't meant to be in weather like we have here, and then you absolutely regret it immediately, or you're taking all your stuff and then putting it into your garage or into your shed to protect it from the elements, and then you pull everything back out. Spend a little bit of that extra money and go shopping by the yard. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. All right, take a quick time out. Come back on the other side. I want to get into the offensive line conversation about this Packers team because that's another area of concern here, and Charlie really didn't get much of a chance to say much of anything during the Mason Crosby show. So I want to get his thoughts on this offensive line and yours as well. Nicolay Law Talk, text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. See Sparky Pfeiffer here. Wisconsin Sports Daily, baby. Live out here at the Wisconsin State Fair, hanging out with you. Hey, are you looking for a college where you can excel in the classroom and on the field? I got it. Bryant and Stratton College in Wauwatosa. That campus is amazing. You can compete in the NJCAA Division II athletics. More than 20 men's and women's teams to choose from. Keep playing the sport that you love while earning your associate degree in business, healthcare, criminal justice, or in digital marketing. And yes, athletic scholarships are available for those of you that qualify. Again, nothing against D3. D3 is great, but there's no scholarship money. There's lots of scholarship money available for you in D2. And after 2 years of competing at the D2 level, if you're really, really good, you might have a chance to go play D1 somewhere, which is probably ultimately the biggest dream everybody has at the end of the day. And if you are thinking about D1, but you're like, yeah, I mean, I can go to this school, but I'm probably not going to play for a couple of years, then go to Bryant and Stratton, play all the time for a couple of years, and then potentially walk into a D1 program somewhere else and play from the word start versus sitting 2 years and just watching. That, to me, that would be my advice I would give as a parent. Visit BryantStratton.edu and discover how Bryant and Stratton College is built different for you. Talking about Packers Family Night, Packers training camp to this point. What stood out to you, Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. All right, Charlie, let's talk about the offensive line issues. Aaron Banks hurt yet again. I know
Shocker.
it's something new. We've never heard of that before. So Aaron Banks out again. So now they're having to try and figure out what they're doing at left guard. Right guard has been a little bit of a mess because Belton has not played all that well to begin. I wanted to get Mike Wall back on this show this week. I'm not sure what day yet. We got to figure that out. The reason I want to get Mike Wall back on this show is I want to talk about, from an offensive lineman standpoint, is there any way for guys to get better in the offseason? Like, could Belton have been doing something this offseason with somebody, say with Mike Wall maybe, as far as working on technique, working on footwork and all that? Belton's issue is not athleticism. That's not the issue. Belton's issue is not power. That's not the issue. Belton's issue is technique and footwork. Those are the problems. Again, never played offensive line in my life, but that's what I think it is. And if that's what it is, there has to be a way for you to practice that, to get better at that in the offseason. I think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it doesn't exist. Charlie Usen, you played offensive line for 4 years in college. You tell me.
There's definitely ways to work on that. There's definitely drills you can do, coaches to work with, all those extra things. But he's also should have been working on this type of stuff before he got to the NFL. Like, if he isn't good at it now, if he's not good at the technique, if he's not good at all the footwork stuff, if he truly has to work on that more than just keeping his body in shape in the offseason, I think a lot of NFL offensive linemen would say that's probably the biggest key, is kind of rebuilding yourself, getting through all those injuries that you finished the season with, taking that time to recoup and get your strength back so that you're healthy going into this upcoming season. I think, yes, it's important to have those types of drills on the side where you're working on your footwork and working on your technique and doing all that to keep in line and in shape with that type of stuff. That shouldn't be your focus as an offensive lineman. I think if that is what Anthony Belton has to do, that's a bigger problem beyond just him needing to work on that this offseason. That's a problem for his career in the future if he hasn't been able to get that type of stuff down. And that's what's concerning about that. And that's what I get worried about that I don't think you see with a lot of these other Packers offensive linemen. I think a lot of them in the past, we've seen them come into the league and it's been more, they got the footwork down. They have all the technique down. How do we get them stronger? How do we get them bigger to play these premier positions that we need to put them in? And that's the biggest case. This is the first time in a while that I think they've really had to work backwards with that. And that's a lot harder to do, in my opinion.
A lot of times this Packers team over the course of time has made a concerted effort to draft guys that can play across the line, right? We're going to take this guy because we think he can only play tackle, but he can play guard. Elton Jenkins, prime example. Elton Jenkins is a guy that they decided to draft. Why? Because they thought he could play all five positions, essentially. They thought he was quick enough and big enough to be a tackle. They thought he was powerful enough to be a guard. And somebody in that organization, according to that old Rob Domofsky piece from years ago, thought he could be a Hall of Fame center, for God's sakes. Was long, long ways away from that last year before he got hurt. But so that's where they were on him. When they brought in Brian Bulaga, I remember talking to Bulaga going, they're going to try and move you all around. Don't let them do it to you. Don't let them do it to you. And he didn't. and he ended up playing at tackle and having a good career at the tackle position. But that has always been the thing with this Packers organization dating back to Ted Thompson. And now you have Belton. Again, you had him at tackle in camp last year, then injuries beset the team, and then you had to move him into guard. So now they're defending why he's a better guard than tackle, even though they didn't believe that in training camp. So now they're defending that. So now he doesn't play well at guard last year. They come back and they're like, you're our starting right guard. Now, we all know I wanted him at guard, so I'm as guilty as anybody on this. So now they're going, okay, you're going to play guard. Well, now he sucks at guard because he's gotten no better in the offseason. So now it's like, oh, well, maybe you'll just be the backup right tackle instead. And now Jacob Monk, who, check the notes, is a center, they're going to try and put over there at right guard or potentially have a rookie go in there and play right guard at this point, and it's become a complete mess. The difference is some teams draft a tackle to play tackle. Some teams draft a guard to play guard. This team drafts player X and says, figure it out. Some guy just yelled Bears. You haven't had a good offensive line in like 10 years. I don't want to hear from a Bears fan.
Last year was pretty good.
But I mean, again, you know, that offensive line's been proven for a long time. It has not been good
before last year. Yeah.
That is not the franchise I'm looking to learn how to build an offensive line. That's the last franchise I want to hear from on building an offensive line. But see, that's the thing. They want versatility from their offensive lineman instead of just plugging and playing a guy into a spot where you know he played for 4 years and you know he's really good at that spot. They don't like going down that road, Charlie, and sometimes it bites him in the butt, and it may have this time.
Well, and it just doesn't really make sense. Again, you talk about the footwork and the technique. You get guys that are more sure about themselves with that type of stuff when they've played that position for 4 years, 5 years leading up to that point. It becomes a lot easier to go into a situation and be confident about yourself in those moments where you need to step up and maybe head in there as a young player and play in the first group. And I think that's huge for a lot of these rookies coming in. And part of the reason that I think when you have a lot of these young guys that the Green Bay Packers have brought in and are trying to play at a bunch of different positions, get messed up over the course of their tenure playing different positions. I said this earlier on the Mason Crosby show with Elgton Jenkins, and when they moved him back to center, I thought that was an awful mistake because when you moved him to guard, he seemed like he was more comfortable at guard the moment they moved him over there. And then he becomes this great player at guard until he starts hitting with the injuries, and you feel like you need to move him back to center, but you just saw he was comfortable at guard. You saw he had his footwork and his technique down, and then all of a sudden it all goes out the window the moment you have to move him back to center. Literally the moment, the one game he had to play 2 years ago at center, he was atrocious, and the offensive line looked really bad when the offensive line the rest of the year looked really good for the Green Bay Packers. Last year, you have a bunch of guys moving around. You have Jordan Morgan playing 18 different positions throughout training camp, and he doesn't feel comfortable in any of those. And now all of a sudden you put him at left tackle, and you go, oh, the guy that's played left tackle for the past 4 years of his career is really comfortable at left tackle and really has the technique and the form down and all this other stuff. Who would have thought? Everybody would have thought. Like, it didn't make any sense to draft him in that spot to play him in a different position that he wasn't going to be comfortable with just because you think he's a good athlete or just because you think this guy has the mold to eventually play that spot. He hasn't before. And to just assume that that guy can go over and do that is, I think, in my mind, kind of ill-founded. You have to be able to go out there and be confident with these players that you're going to put into these spots and not just hope that their bodies are going to carry them through that, because that is not the case every single time.
He's Charlie Usich, see Sparky Fifer with you. Take a quick time out, come back on the other side, switch gears. We're going to turn our attention to the Milwaukee Brewers. Over the weekend, they figured out a way to get it done at the end of the day against the Minnesota Twins. Now becomes a journey on a West Coast trip that's going to be pretty tough. Padres have been playing better. The Dodgers are skidding, but that's not going to last forever. So we got 3 against the Padres, 4 against the Dodgers. We'll talk about that. A very tough road trip coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair, inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Fifer with you.
He swings and drives one to right. That's well hit. Lara's on the run. He leaps. Oh, my goodness! Luis Lara makes the play. Showing his wares in the big leagues.
I thought that was a home run. Never did give up on it.
Luis Lara, unbelievable defensively yesterday. Unbelievable stuff. Highlight courtesy of Brewers TV. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, live on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Hope you all are doing well here. It is Monday, and it is a blast out here at the Wisconsin State Fair. Lots and lots of action going on. Milk House has had a line of people all day for the milk. Tried the brownie, people. I'm telling you, that brownie is the way to go. If you've never been to the Milk House and you're coming down from Wausau or Green Bay or Madison or Duluth, Superior, wherever you're coming from, root beer milk, man. If you like root beer, the root beer milk at the Milk House, by far the best milk you're going to have at the Milk House. Charlie, I get to see if you and Beth headed over to the Milk House before you came by me on Friday. Did you guys do the Milk House?
We did not do the Milk House. Beth's parents did the Milk House because they were here. So we were here for 9 hours. They were here for 11.
It was 8. You said 8 hours on the last show.
Or whatever.
You gained
8
an
hours.
hour?
Whatever, 8 hours. We were there from 1 to 9. That was roughly when we were there from. Her parents were there from open till 9. So they were there all day. They stopped at the Milk House a few times. They tried all the different ones.
Yeah.
Like, root beer milk is a classic. It's also one that they, like, have all the time. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's good, but, like, don't you want to try the other ones and be excited about the other ones, too?
The nice thing is I have Mitch Thundernellis who tries all that stuff. Mitch Thundernellis told me the s'mores is like chocolate milk a little bit. Was there a birthday cake one, I think? He said that tastes like vanilla milk. And I forgot the other one was. But he goes, end of story, root beer milk is still the best. I said, okay, well, problem solved. I don't got to worry about trying the other ones.
So you haven't tried them yet?
I'm just going to get root beer milk until I die.
Just get
That's
the flight and try them all.
Do you know what else I've learned from you? That I'd rather hang out with Beth's parents at the State Fair who understand how to do State Fair, other than you, who I'm guessing was probably like, are we done yet? Can we go?
No, I love the
hours.
State Fair.
I'd like to go home now. We've been watching
I just
for like 5 hours.
different parts of it. There's just other areas that are my favorite, like the pig races. That's my favorite thing. I go there every year at least once. If I go
do you bet on it?
No, I don't bet on the pig race. I don't really like bet that much in general.
Oh, yeah, but it's you and her parents. Like, y'all should put like a buck up, pick a pig, and go.
Oh, we just pick pigs. You know, you don't have to put money on it. Why does everything have to have money on it? We can just still have fun and talk about like which pigs we want to win without putting money on it.
I mean, it's kind of lame. I gotta have something on the line if I'm really gonna get into this. You know what I mean? You gotta have something on the line.
Well, like buy a beer or something. Like that's better.
Yeah,
like I'd rather do that. All right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean that's more than $1, but sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
something like that.
I don't know. Like it feels like you're not spending money, even though you're spending money.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, big races are definitely fun. A good time out here as well. So come on out, hang out at the State Fair. Got kids, got to go down the big yellow slide. Obviously, that's a big thing, the gigantic Ferris wheel that they got going on. The Sky Gliders here at State Fair. Did you do the Sky Gliders, Charlie? Did you do that or no?
Yes, we did do that. We do those every year, too, when we come.
So you like the Sky Gliders?
I do that. Do them at State Fair and at Summerfest every year. You got to do them.
Okay, good. So you like the Sky Gliders. Have you ever dropped anything from the Sky Gliders onto somebody?
Not as far as I know. Have you ever dropped it? Like, I feel like that's lethal to some degree, potentially.
Let's talk about the Milwaukee Brewers and what happened over the weekend for the Milwaukee Brewers. A couple of different things here to address. First of all, Luis Lara was really, really good defensively. Offensively, he's coming around. You could see him coming around offensively. And again, doing something every time he comes up. Another Bears fan. 1 year and 20 years of being good. They're very high on themselves this year. And they should be. They've sucked for so long. It's been a long time since they've been good. I'm not going to crush Bear fans' dreams from 1 year. They can get excited all they want. Just like being a Cubs fan. But I can't really go to Cubs fans the same way because they've won the World Series and the Brewers haven't. So I can't really say much to Cubs fans. This is the thing about the Brewers, though. Luis Lara played great, which is obviously a good thing. Sal Frelick is on a rehab assignment. We heard from Jack Stern from BrewerFanatic.com earlier in the Mason Crosby show that in his mind, if Andrew Vaughn doesn't start figuring out how to hit righties that throw a certain type of pitch mix better, then Andrew Vaughn is going to probably only play against lefties. And then Sal Frelick and Luis Lara are going to be the ones that are going to be rotating in right field going forward once Sal Frelick comes back. I really, really struggle with the idea of sitting Andrew Vaughn. Meanwhile, a guy like Christian Yelich plays every day, regardless of it's a righty or a lefty. It doesn't really matter. And like Jack Stern was pointing out, the Cubs have played really good and can't gain any ground on the Brewers, and they're playing as good as they can right now. So from a Brewers fan perspective, knowing you're not playing all that well, but you're figuring out ways to win regardless, knowing you haven't hit your stride yet, and once you do, and the Cubs come back down to earth, the division's probably going to be over. You don't have to be as aggressive. But my issue is when you get to the postseason, like we were talking about with Jack Stern, that's when you do have to be aggressive, and you can't be worried about hurting players' feelings about who's playing and who's not, and you simply have got to play the best hitters in that lineup. It can't be about anything else at that point. And if you look at that lineup yesterday, with Vaughn at third base and Cooper Pratt, if and when he's healthy again, at shortstop, you have no weakness in that lineup. None. Contreras, Bowers, Turang, Cooper Pratt, Vaughn, the outfield, Churio, Mitchell, and Laura. You have no weak links when you look at it 1 through 9. I trust every one of those guys to come up with a hit when I need a hit. I'm good. But more than likely what's going to happen is Christian Yelich will maintain a designated hitter role, so that's going to be a question mark. You're going to play Ortiz or Hamilton at third base, so that's going to be a question mark. And more than likely, Frelick is going to get playing time in right field over Laura. And unless he comes out playing much better off this rehab assignment, you're going to go into that with a question mark too. And it's because we don't want to hurt guys' feelings and we want to show love to the vets. That's going to be the reasoning that we're going to go with here. And I really hope it doesn't come back and bite him in the butt at the end of the day, Charlie, because that kind of is my concern. I'm not sitting here telling you Andrew Vaughn's going to be a Gold Glover at third base. No, not at all. He's not. Joey Ortiz, much better defensively. Joey Ortiz, with one eye closed and one arm tied behind his back, is probably better than Vaughn. But having said that, can you afford in this lineup against, say, a Dodgers team to give up a potential good bat in order for defense? And that is the question that you're going to be weighing and balancing the rest of the way out here, Charlie.
Well, but Joey Ortiz has been a good bat when he's been at third base. Like, we've talked about that throughout this past couple of months, that he's been that guy, and he just consistently gets bumped out of the lineup now, too, because David Hamilton apparently is such a threat and helps out this Brewers team just so much from Pat Murphy's point of view, I guess. I don't know, the easiest way to not hurt somebody's feelings, and the easiest way to get all these guys playing time was probably to trade at least one of them at the trade deadline, which, again, I'm still extremely frustrated that they didn't go and do that. I think that's also would have been the easiest way to recoup some kind of prospect loss that you would have had if you made another trade, which they didn't end up doing outside of the Dustin May trade, which, again, I just don't think is big enough for me to even really count it as one of those moves that we've talked about in the past or talked about the past couple of months. Like, just moving on from one of those guys, giving Sal Frelick away, saying, you know what, Garrett Mitchell's value is so high right now, we can move on from that. We can find roles for the guys that we have on our roster while those guys go and have success somewhere else. Yes, that's frustrating to see and lose that type of player, but if you can bring talent back and you can figure out and not have as many questions within your lineup as you do right now, that probably would have been the easiest way to go about all this, and they chose not to do that. They chose to sit at the deadline and make minor moves to mediocre moves to help out this team in the longevity angle of things, but not to help you out when you need to start answering some of these questions. Now you still have the same questions that we've had all the time with this Milwaukee Brewers team. Come playoff time, when those questions start to rear their ugly heads once again, that's going to be a problem for this Brewers team, and a question that's going to be even hotter for the front office now.
You look at this Brewers rotation, you feel much better about it now, right? Because you get Harrison back, you add May. So for this series against the Padres, you get, in no particular order, Henderson, Harrison, and Mays all in these 3 games. Those are 3 legit, really good pitchers all in these 3 games. You don't sacrifice anything. So now you have, when you put the Miz in front of this, you have 4 legit, really good starters, and you potentially have a weak link at 5 between Gasser and Shane Drowan, depending on what you get. Neither one all that good the last time out. But that's all you have. And then you have a 6-man rotation, so I guess you have technically 2 weak links. But when you talk about the postseason, you right now have legitimate 4 good starters. That's all you need. You don't need to worry about a 5-starter or a 6-starter. So starting pitching-wise, you're set there, providing they can just stay healthy. Bullpen-wise, on the backside, Ashby pitched much better. Why did he pitch much better? Because they finally gave him a break and gave him some days off. That's why he finally pitched better. So you get Ashby. Senzatella. Did you see that? Senzatella's second time out, he gets hit pretty good. Pat Murphy said, well, we've got to make sure that, he learns about the frequency in which he's going to pitch here in Milwaukee, which is going to be different than what it was in Colorado. Let me help you. That means they're going to pitch you till your arm falls off. That's what this means. And you have never gone through anything like this in your life, and your arm is going to have to figure this out going forward here. So that was what that translation was all about. Now you still haven't even brought up the other Cardinal reliever, Jojo Romero, who's going to join this team at some time. So that's going to give you another lefty in the pen and a fresh arm, because he hasn't pitched for a while since that appendicitis. Nothing wrong with his arm. So he's going to be fresh down the stretch here for you, too. That will also help spell Ashby and give him some time. So from a pitching perspective, I feel really good where we're at. My only thing is, like we talked about, is the hitting and how this all plays out, and Pat Murphy and what he does. From the 414, using Nicolay Law Talk text line, again, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. If the Brewers blow this thing, it's 100% on Murph. I don't know, man. Like, there is a part of me that would probably agree with you, but until I see how we go about this, we'll have to wait and see. Tim Allen talks about it all the time on the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show. Andrew Vaughn's numbers were only so good because Pat Murphy put him against pitchers he could hit. That's why his numbers were so good. If he was in there every day and playing against everybody, his numbers wouldn't be as good. Jack Stern then reiterated kind of to that degree that right-handers with certain pitch mix, Andrew Vaughn struggles against, and because of that, he may only play against lefties in the playoffs and down the stretch. Andrew Vaughn can argue, you really have never given me an opportunity to play 5 days a week at any point this year, at any point. So who knows how that's going to play out. Then the third base situation, same type of situation there. Joey Ortiz has a couple of days where he's going like gangbusters, and then he gets set for 3 days before he comes back. Why? And Adam McKelvey just had a piece on it. Go read it, Brewers.com. Same thing with Joey Ortiz. Pat Murphy saying, only certain pitchers with certain pitch mixes do I feel comfortable playing him against right now. And if that's not the situation, then I'm going to play David Hamilton, who stinks against everybody, instead of playing Joey Ortiz, and we're going to see what happens with him. Now the issue what you have is, because Pratt is out with a hamstring, and Pat Murphy said it, I don't know how long he's going to be out, because Pratt's never had a hamstring injury. So we'll see how long it takes him to get back. Now Pratt's out, so now when Ortiz comes back, they both have to play every single day. And Joey Ortiz is going to go back to shortstop, where he hasn't hit for a majority of the year, and third base is going to be David Hamilton again.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good. That's not great. But again, it's nice because you've got 3 games out, then the 1 seed, and you're comfortable 5.5 on the Cubs. So as much as it doesn't feel great, they're in a really, really good shape right now. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair, inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Back after this, we're going to talk about more issues concerning the Brewers involving the minor leagues. Don't change the dial.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
We are live from the Wisconsin State Fair. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you, along with my guy Charlie Usen back in the studio inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Lots to get to coming up today. We'll get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day coming up at 3:40 today. Looking forward to that. Peter Bukowski from the Locked On Packers podcast and from the Leap newsletter. He comes up at 4 o'clock. We'll jump back into more Packer conversation at that point. Lots to get to. Don't forget, you can watch the Wisconsin Sports Daily Show on the Growth Love video stream on Instagram Live, X, and YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Injured, Growth gets it, and lots of fun to always watch what's going on out here. I understand from, like, the sightlines aspect of me out here at Wisconsin State Fair, you really can't see, like, all the people walking by and everybody eating food and all of that necessarily. But still, if you want to see what we look like, which has always been weird to me, why anybody would want to see what we look like. Either way, if you like to tune in, watch on video, you obviously can do that for most of our shows here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. All right, so I want to stay on the Brewers here. It is 3 o'clock. We like to talk about the Crew at 3 o'clock. But I want to switch gears here to talk about what's going on down in the minor league system, because there was some significant news, and I've not seen an update because I've been on the air since noon to anything going on. And I got the game notes already from the Brewers, and I didn't see anything yet from them. But Blake Burke, who's got 30 home runs already on the year for AA Biloxi for the Brewers, it appears, as of a report last night, is getting promoted to AAA Nashville. Now, if we remember about Blake Burke, he was a first baseman at the University of Tennessee the year before Andrew Fisher became that guy at Tennessee. And then the Brewers drafted Andrew Fisher. Now, Blake Burke, bigger type dude, what would you say? Kind of like Andrew Vaughn, maybe a little bit thicker than Andrew Vaughn.
He's definitely thicker than Andrew Vaughn.
Yeah, so he's got some size to him, right? He's not going to play third base. He's not playing shortstop or second, but he'll play first base or be designated hitter.
He's 6'3", 236. So,
There's
yeah,
no
definitely
way
bigger than Vaughn.
I don't believe 236 from what I've seen on video. Maybe video's not flattering, but I don't.
Some
I don't
people
see-
carry 236 differently, Sparky. You know, it's different for everybody.
Okay. So anyways, Blake Burke, according to reports, coming up to AAA Nashville. I have not seen a corresponding move as of yet from anybody involved. There's multiple options and multiple ways you can go about this. The first way could be that Luke Adams, who's played third base before, they may be like, okay, let's get you a couple weeks at third base at AAA, and then let's see if you're ready to come up and play third base every day at the major league level in hopes of Luke Adams' bat being put into the lineup like Cooper Pratt, like Laura, and both of those guys have been productive. Neither one has sucked, right? If he's able to come up here and do that, you're feeling good. Now, the corresponding move, I don't know, right? So it could be Brock Wilken then becomes designated hitter. It could be Brock Wilken goes back to AA because he's hitting under 200 and goes back to AA to try and figure things out there, and they move him to first base. Or they move Fisher to first base and give up on him at third and move Madej to third base and Wilkins the DH down there. At some point, Brewers, you need to move Madej off a shortstop and put him in the position you think he's going to play in the big leagues, because I think most of us are hoping he's in the big leagues next year. I think that's the goal, right? He gets to Nashville to start next year or by the end of this year. And then next year, hopefully, if everything goes right, he ends up in the big leagues by the second half of the year, Charlie.
I think he should be in the big leagues opening day. Like, he is that good. I don't know what other people are seeing about him, but every time some highlight pops up, it's some insane thing that Jesus Madej is doing along with Andrew Fisher, along with Blake Burke. Like, everybody in this minor league system needs to start being moved. They need to start getting these guys transitioning to get ready to be major league players, because right now what you're seeing at the major league level is, yes, a very competitive team, but a team that could also be better. Like, that's what's
Yes.
crazy, is that you are the best team in baseball, but everybody watching this team knows this team can be even better with new pieces added into lineup or a couple changes to the way your pitching rotation or your bullpen has worked out so far this season. It's just so obvious that you have other players that can come up and make a difference for this Milwaukee Brewers organization, and it feels so weird that you're just not acting on that. And I understand if it's not broke, don't fix it, but you can see there's some things that are about to break, some things that are going to be problems moving forward for this Milwaukee Brewers team that I think if you bring up some of these young guys, yes, they're not guaranteed to be studs. Yes, they're not guaranteed to be perfect right away, but I think they do guarantee that you're getting something different and can at least find ways to use that skill set differently than what you have right now.
And that's the thing here with the Brewers, and that you're really debating at this point is how to go about fixing this going forward for the Milwaukee Brewers. And that's the one thing we don't know right now. I want to get into talking about this West Coast trip because this is a big, big trip coming up, right, Charlie? You've got 3 games against San Diego and San Diego. Then you go to L.A. to take on the Dodgers. There's no day off. Your next day off is a week from today, and you haven't had a day off forever. So they're on another long stretch after having just been on a really long stretch. Then September comes, and it looks like there's some days off scattered all over the place. This is my thing. What is an acceptable record for you, Brewers fans, as far as what you want to see this Brewers team be on this road trip coming up? 7-game road trip, 3 in San Diego. You've got Henderson, Harrison, and May all in this first 3 games for the Milwaukee Brewers. So 3 of your 4 best pitchers pitch in these next 3 days. 2 night games. Tonight, leadoff show at 7:30. Tonight and tomorrow night. Post-game, both nights, Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show with the franchise Tim Allen, midnight to 1 a.m. Might start a little bit earlier if the game's done sooner. Midnight to 1 a.m. Then on Wednesday, that's a 3 o'clock first pitch. So 2 o'clock leadoff show out here at the Wisconsin State Fair with myself. And then we'll have the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show out here at the Wisconsin State Fair on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. with the franchise Tim Allen and myself. And I don't know if you heard, Charlie, on the postgame show the other night, we have determined that we are going to get Tim Allen onto this Piano Man moving piano at some point to get him up there to sing. Even if he's not playing the piano and the other person is playing the piano, but we're going to get him up there and singing on this rotating piano
during
at some
a post game. You're going to get it during the
I
show. I think we can make
if
that
we
work.
do it during the post game, then Will, our promotions guy, or somebody will have to go over there and shoot video of the whole thing happening so we can post the video.
Just take your computer and give it to Tim and have Tim walk over there, and then he can hold the computer while he sings and everything, and then we can make that work.
Yeah. I guess we could do that. The problem is you're not going to hear Tim at all, obviously.
Don and Dan had an iPad, by the way, and it was a game changer for the video. They set it up like
I saw it on the live.
Yeah, we should try doing that.
It looked way better. I don't own an iPad, and I don't own an iPhone. I don't know anything with an eye, so I'm out. No, that's not happening. But it definitely looked a lot better. They must have handed it up on like a tripod or something.
They did, yeah. But I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, we got to start trying to do that.
And then they had their little helmet up here as well.
Not their little helmet, it's a full-size helmet, though. We have like hundreds of them now.
I feel like we should have a Wisconsin Sports Daily helmet. I wonder how much those things cost. I think that could be fun.
Do we have to get one that fits you? Because then it's going to be a really big
too
helmet.
Big. No, it would weigh down the table. It would not be pretty. It would be ugly. Let's not go with my height size. All right, what's an acceptable record for this Brewers team on the road, in your opinion? 3 in San Diego, then 4 in L.A. against the Dodgers. No days off this week. Nikolai Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250 from the 262. Must win 3, would be happy with 4 coming from the 262. Another one from the 262. I would love to see 5 and 2, but I think 4 and 3 is more realistic. I'll say this. I think you want to be 4 and 3 at the end of this, but the term acceptable, I think, would be 3 and 4. I don't see a world where this thing goes 2 and 5 in this trip for multiple reasons. Number one, with Harrison, May, and Henderson all pitching in this first series, they're going to at least win one of those 3. They are. Like, one of those dudes are going to shut down San Diego. You're going to get one of those games. So that's one. Then just splitting with the Dodgers, who are not playing well, I think it's an achievable goal as well. So that's 3. So minimum, I think 3 and 4 is probably minimum at this point. Now, bright side, upside, being optimistic, could they go 5 and 2? I think they could go 5 and 2. 6 and 1 seems a little out there. I don't know about 6-1. 7-0 seems ridiculous. So I don't think I'm going to go 7-0. But I think being optimistic, 5-2 is possible. And I think 3-4 is probably the baseline as far as, being acceptable if you get 3 wins on this trip. You don't want to give up too much ground to the Cubs, and you don't want to give up too much ground to the Dodgers as far as for the best record. And the Braves are also in this mix now. So you want to make sure you at least come out of the trip right around 500, if at all possible. What would it be for you? 414-677-1250. Charlie, what say you?
I think I'm okay with 3-4. I think that's acceptable too. I just don't think what's acceptable is sweeping the Padres and then getting swept by the Dodgers if it is going to be that 3-4. I think you need to go out there and at least take one game from Los Angeles. I think you have to go out there and kind of, again, prove this dominance that you've had over the past couple of seasons, the dominance that you have right now with a 4-game lead, 3-game lead over the National League. Like, you have to feel really good about that. I think you have to show the Dodgers that you feel really good about that. Go and put them in their place a little bit. I hate that the Dodgers have Skubal on the 5-day rest too, because it doesn't line up. Now Skubal's pitching against Henderson in that second game, which I think is like, all right, fine, whatever. I'd rather see him against Miz and have what happened with Miz against Christopher Sanchez when they played the Phillies earlier in the year, where he just went out there and completely dominated Christopher Sanchez in that matchup. The Brewers went out there and played really well and put the Phillies in their place. I really would have liked if they had that against the Dodgers and had Miz going up against Skubal and showing, hey, we don't need that. Like, we're better than that. That'd be really awesome. You're still going to get to face him, which I think is still a really good opportunity to go out there and kind of show the Dodgers, again, that you can go and be that stud. But I think you really put the nail in the coffin if it's Miz going out there and dominating Skubal and having that moment. I think in this series, what's acceptable to me is 3-4 with a game where you prove to the Dodgers that you are that type of team. And then I also think just what I think they're going to do versus what's acceptable, I think they can win 5. And I think you go out there and you prove that you can win 5, and then you truly are just that dominant team that everybody has to respect.
Couple of things on what you just said. First off, I don't want May against Skubal at any point ever. I don't want that. I don't want to be their deadline guy versus our deadline guy. That's not going to go good.
No.
So
I want
avoid that. I don't want that at any time. I'm okay with Henderson against Skubal.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about that because that means it's not going to be Skubal against Mizorowski, which should be a Brewers win on the other side of that, right? And then you see what happens with Skubal. God help the Dodgers and Skubal. If Henderson shuts down L.A., Skubal gives up 4, and they lose that matchup, I mean, Brewer fans are going to be celebrating like, screw you. You wanted Logan Henderson. That's because he's better than Skubal. Brewers fans are going to be besides themselves with joy and happiness if that were to happen. So I don't mind that necessarily. To the last point that you just made, Charlie, about wanting to have a game where you kind of cement yourself as the better team between the two, I don't think you're going to do that against this Dodgers team. You're not going to sway their confidence to let them think they're not the best team in Major League Baseball right now. Last year, what were you, 9-0 against them? And you still went and lost the series in the postseason. The Dodgers simply do not care about regular season matchups, whether it's against you, the Padres, the Cubs, the Philly, Atlanta. It just doesn't mean as much to them because they're like, our starting pitching isn't put together yet. We're got guys that are hurt and banged up, including Ohtani. So until we're healthy, none of this means anything at this point, which was the same song and story, the same story that they had last year during the season where their starting pitching was all beat up and you really didn't get to see all of it put together in one piece till the postseason. So I don't think there's a scenario where you can, quote-unquote, intimidate the Dodgers by putting your foot down and on their throat and saying, we're the best now. I don't think that exists.
I don't think I was trying to say, I guess, that you want to intimidate the Dodgers. I think you want to give yourself that type of juice. And you want to go out there and prove to yourself and have Pat Murphy not have a reason to constantly say you're the underdogs and constantly keep putting the same guys out there. I think if you go out there and you dominate the Dodgers for at least 2 of these games, hopefully at least 3 of them, so that you can go out there and just, again, prove and put your foot on their neck, that would be awesome. Prove to Pat Murphy that, hey, okay, maybe we need to make some tougher decisions with this Brewers team because we are that good, because we do have players that are playing really well right now and that other guys are starting to kind of slow us down a little bit. How can we make that difference? How can we make that change? I think you have to prove to him that there is no opportunity for him to say that this Brewers team can get better. If you go out there and beat the Dodgers this way, this late in the season, I think that gives this Brewers team that extra juice to help him make his decisions a little bit faster.
Coming up next, we're going to look at the pitching matchups for this series. Somebody on the Talking Text line wants to know the pitching matchups for the Dodgers series, so we'll jump into that as well. all coming up. Also, don't forget, out here at the Wisconsin State Fair is where you're going to want to be. We're right outside the Expo Center entrance, right across from the Milk House, where you can also get that brownie, too, and take advantage of that. Also, when you're out here, make sure to come up and scan the QR code. It's day 5 of the Wisconsin State Fair, rolling strong. And our friends from By the Yard are giving away a $2,000 in-store credit towards your purchase of 4 custom Adirondack chairs and 2 side tables. The Adirondack chairs have pretty much had people sitting in them all day. To register to win, simply stop by our booth right outside the Wisconsin State Fair Expo Center and scan the QR code right now. People have been scanning that QR code over there the entire time because these Adirondack chairs are next level, man. Next level. And By the Yard definitely are going to want to do that. All right, come back on the other side with more Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. See Sparky Pfeiffer out here with you, Wisconsin Sports Daily, doing its thing. Charlie Usen back in the studio producing. You can tell who is where. I'm out here with a short-sleeve shirt on. Charlie has a full-on sweatshirt, probably because it's cooler. Wisconsin Sports Radio Network sweatshirt
That
from
was the main
Burghart's.
reason I'm wearing it, yeah.
From Burghart's as well, which is a beautiful thing as well. And since you are wearing it, we should also talk about how people can do the same thing for their business. Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, proudly outfitted by Burghardt Sporting Goods, our official apparel partner. Outfit your team or company with custom apparel today at bsg1881.com. I don't care where you are listening. It does not matter. They can outfit your baseball team, football team, basketball team. They can do all that. But maybe you own your own business and want your own apparel with stuff printed on it and whatever the case may be. That's what they did for us. They can do the same thing for your company as well. Check them out today, bsg1881.com. What they do is they put together like this whole store of a website, and then you can go through and have your employees, give them however much money that you decide to spend here, what they want to buy within the store. They can pick out their own stuff, and then it gets shipped either to their house or to your business or whatever the case may be, and you're ready to roll. Again, very, very cool. Check them out, BSG1881. Doesn't matter if you're in Wausau, I should say, if you're in Green Bay, Appleton, Madison, Duluth, Superior, southeastern Wisconsin. Burghardt Sporting Goods is here to take care of you all for certain. Okay, I want to get back into some of the stuff that we were talking about there as far as expectations for this series, these next 7 games. And, of course, the leadoff show comes up tonight. Get you ready for Brewers-Padres Game 1 with myself from 7:30 to 8:30. Then after the last pitch, you make the switch. Potawatomi Sports Book post-game show with Tim Allen and myself tonight. Probably be on the air somewhere around midnight till about 1 a.m. this evening. Looking forward to that. From Scotty Tiffany on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250. Would like to see 2-1 against the Padres, then split the Dodgers series. So my West Coast expectations, 4-3. I feel like that is pretty much where everybody is. 4-3, 3-4 as far as what's acceptable at this point. From the 4-1-4, Scott says, Sparky, I think 3-4 would be huge. Offense is scuffling, and we're facing some really good pitching. Let's get into the pitching matchups for this series, specifically for the Brewers and the Padres out west. Logan Henderson tonight against Casey Mize. Casey Mize was the other guy that was expected to be a big name, big fish. Everybody was out big game hunting. If you couldn't get Scooble, Mize was the next guy that everybody wanted to get. That decision to trade Mize and who they were going to trade him to literally came down to 5 o'clock before Scott Harris and the Tigers pulled the trigger on where he was going. He got the best deal from the Padres, so Casey Mize went to San Diego. Casey Mize in his first outing was not good in his last outing, so we'll see what that means coming into outing number 2. So Henderson versus Mize tonight. Tomorrow night, Kyle Harrison against Walker Buehler. Remember when Walker Buehler was good 100 years ago, Charlie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's been a long time since Walker Buehler's been any good. He's got a 5+ ERA on the year right now. And then on Wednesday afternoon, a 3 o'clock start, Dustin May to the hill against another trade deadline acquisition for the Padres, Robbie Ray, who obviously has been very successful in his career. Robbie Ray, 3.24 ERA. So you get Mize with a 3.4 ERA. You get Robbie Ray with a 3.2 ERA. Nobody thought San Diego would be buying at the deadline. Clearly, they've had the offensive players, superstar-type players, Machado, Tatis, and these guys on that team all year long. Despite the struggles, that general manager, A.J. Preller, who thinks it's fantasy baseball when he makes trades, does not care about his minor league system whatsoever. He went for it, and when I got 2 more starting pitchers to try and make things interesting for the Dodgers and the Brewers and the Cubs and the Phillies and the Braves, issue here is Padres still have to get into the playoffs before any of this is going to matter at the end of the day. So every game is like a playoff game at this point for the Padres, Charlie. What do you think of those three pitching matchups?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch. I like May versus Ray. That's just fun to say overall. But I think just this series for the Milwaukee Brewers compared to the pitching matchups that I think you have versus the Dodgers, and while I'm still pretty confident in the Brewers to be able to win those games, even though it is the Dodgers, I feel even more confident about those pitching matchups against San Diego. San Diego really did need to go and add to their pitching rotation, but I also think those great bats that we talk about haven't been nearly as great as they should be so far this season, and that they probably could have put a little bit more interest, a little bit more intrigue out in the trade market for more position players. And yes, I think you're going to get some really good pitching performances from these guys, but when you're playing a team like the Milwaukee Brewers, who also have some really great pitchers and are going to go out there and show you some of those really great pitchers, you're going to see that you're still going to be a little outmatched when you need to win a 3-2 game, and the Brewers seem to find ways to win those 3-2 games more often.
And that's the thing, too, about this Brewers team that we've been talking about nonstop. The Brewers have not been able to really put together offensive performances to where you're not sweating it out at the end of games on a regular basis. This team consistently finds itself in 2- and 3-run games throughout the course of this year. There have probably been, less than 10 games where they ran away and hit on somebody where it was not in question by the end of the game. That's the one thing where you'd like to see this offense start to click. And as we've talked about before, it's a scary proposition for the Cubs and their fan base and the Dodgers and the Braves, because this team is not playing its best baseball, hasn't played its best baseball yet. The Cubs definitely are playing their best baseball and have been here now for a little bit, and they can't make up any ground. That is not good news for the Cubs, because they're playing about as good as they can get, and the Brewers are not, Charlie.
Yeah, they're playing at their peak. Looking back at some of these Brewers games throughout the season, they haven't really had that many since the first week of the year, where they blew out the White Sox for those first 3 games and then had a couple big wins over Tampa Bay. They had moving down for a few weeks after that, all the way until you get to some of these later series against Los Angeles. You lose 11-3 in that one. That was not as fun. But 13-1 versus Arizona, 13-2 versus Arizona. In the second half of the season, you have the one blowout. It'd be fun to start seeing that offense pick it up a little bit more and help this Brewers pitching out, because a lot of these other teams that are struggling with the same kind of problems, like I'm saying, have not been getting the same kind of support from their teams around them.
That's right. Charlie, I want you to call up, let's look on that ESPN game log, even though I know that's the most reliable thing in the whole wide world, and see what these pitching matchups are against the Dodgers. As they said, David on the Fan Milwaukee Facebook page asking what that pitching matchups are looking like for that next series against the Dodgers. So we'll get to that momentarily. Boomhawk says, blank all that noise. It's time for a win streak. 7-0 on this trip.
All right,
says Boomhawk. Hey, I can get down with that. That's nice. Jeff M on the Dugout YouTube chat over there says, as long as they can stay 3+ games ahead of the Cubs by the end of it, I'm good. That's a different way to look at it. That's not him saying 4-3, 5-2, 3-4 acceptable record. He's saying I don't care what their number is, right? I mean, pretty much they can go 1-6, but if they're still 4.5 or 5.5 up at the end of the road trip because the Cubs stink too, none of the other stuff matters. How many games they win or lose. That's a different perspective. I kind of like that perspective. This is what I want quickly about the Brewers Cubs. They start a 4-game trip at Wrigley coming up on August 31st. I want to be in a position at about 6.5 games up on the Cubs to end their season and end their chances of winning this division. I want to be in a position going into that 4-game set at Wrigley to say, you're like 6.5 back. If we take 3 out of 4, you can kiss this division goodbye to start the month of September. And then you can talk about your wild card plans or whatever. I want to bury them as soon as possible to not have to continue to worry about them watching the scoreboard every night to see what they're doing, Charlie.
You're just going to struggle to do that in these next couple series. The Cubs have Washington and St. Louis coming up here, so ones where the Cubs should probably be able to win pretty easily.
Washington's offense is okay, though.
Their offense is okay, but their pitching.
James Wood to the IL.
Yeah, their pitching just isn't nearly there, and that's what the Cubs are relying on, is their bats to be able to take apart bad pitching like that. So I think the Cubs are going to find a way to kind of stay afloat there. The Brewers, again, I think have to have a good couple series here. Against the Dodgers, the Brewers have Shane Drowan against Roki Sasaki, Robert Gasser against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Jacob Mizorowski against Justin Robleski, and then Logan Henderson facing off against Tarek Skubal in that last game.
Okay, first of all, they're not winning the Gasser matchup against Yamamoto. Highly, highly doubt that.
That game starts at 9:10 to our time. That's
Yeah,
so gross.
Friday and or
That's so
Thursday and
gross.
Friday are both 9:00 starts. Yeah, 8:00 leadoff shows Thursday and Friday night. So Friday, I would say probably not winning that one. Robolewski's been pitching well, so that's not going to be an easy win. Even though Miz is on the mound, that's not going to be easy on Saturday by any stretch of the imagination. Henderson, I feel good about, gives you a chance, even though it's Tarek Skubal on Sunday. I like that. What was that Thursday matchup? Drowan against Sasaki?
Yep.
Okay, so Sasaki has been pitching much better this year than, say, last year when they saw him coming out of the pen in the playoffs last year. But we know Sasaki can lose it quickly. So you hope that Shane Drowan pitches better than he did his last time, because if not, they're going to get potentially blown out. That's the one thing that you don't want. You don't want the first two games of the series to be blowouts, and then you're scrambling to try and take the last two, having to go up against Robleski and whatchamacallit, Skubal at the end. Right. You don't want to be 0 down 0-2 in that series by any means. If you are on YouTube and you are watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, please. I ask you, please, to do that. Brenton on the Dugout YouTube chat says, 4-3. I don't know how the Brewers keep putting Yelly out there. If he's still this bad at the end of the month, give a guy in the farm system a chance, says Brenton. I don't need to go to the farm system. I can just give you Andrew Vaughn as DH and get Yelich out of there. I don't need to go call up Luke Adams or Andrew Fisher or anybody else. I'll simply take Luke Adams at DH, and let's move on from Christian Yelich every day. But as I said to Jack Stern earlier, because we asked Jack Stern earlier on the Mason Crosby show from Bird Fanatic, okay, give us your lineup in the playoffs. So he gave us our lineup. He said designated hitter. He paused, and he said, against a right-handed pitcher, I'd rather have Gary Sanchez as designated hitter than Christian Yelich. I laughed hysterically and said, you better go play Powerball tonight for almost $1 billion, because your odds are better of winning Powerball than they are of Gary Sanchez taking over for Christian Yelich as the designated hitter in the postseason. I don't see any way, shape, or form that dude is getting benched the rest of the year. Maybe he's a day off once a week. The more likely scenario, if you're rooting for that, if he can't get figured out, is maybe he bows out, says he's got back spasms, and puts himself on the IL so they can get somebody else in there. Outside of that, I don't think he's coming out no matter how bad this gets, Charlie.
No, I don't think so. He's too important, I think, to Pat Murphy within that locker room. I think he's his confidant, the guy he's going to go to as a leader of this team, especially with Brandon Woodruff out. I think if Brandon Woodruff was still on this roster and still pitching for this Milwaukee Brewers team, I think you have a little bit of an easier decision to make with Christian Yelich. I think you can sit him a little bit more because you have another veteran leader within that locker room to kind of take that brunt of that load if Christian's not feeling good about the move and is kind of down in the dumps, not talking with the team. You don't have that right now. Like, it is Christian Yelich, and because of that, you have to keep him within that lineup, at least from Pat Murphy's perspective. I think just overall production-wise, Gary Sanchez, yes, has had his moments of power that have been more exciting than Christian Yelich this season, but also just hasn't been that much better than Yelich when he's played overall. I think that's the other thing we have to look at here, is that it is Andrew Vaughn or Christian Yelich. It's nobody else. I had said Gary Sanchez a couple weeks ago, too, on the Mason Crosby show over Christian Yelich. I kind of have changed my mind a little bit because I don't think he adds that much more value. I think if you can start moving other guys around in this lineup, that becomes a lot better of use for this Milwaukee Brewers team than switching Gary Sanchez for Christian Yelich in that spot.
I apologize. Is Tony in Asheville still there?
He is still there, yes.
I'm sorry, Tony. I didn't look to see who was on the phone lines. It's my fault. You've been sitting on hold this long. Tony, what's going on, buddy? You're on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up?
Oh, hey, it's all good. First off, I don't know how you could possibly suggest that Charlie is milk-fed when he's so obviously corn-fed. And I would be willing to lay down a pretty big bet that I'm not the first person to ever say that.
Corn-fed guys are usually bigger than me, typically, from my personal experience. Like, I'm a big guy, but I'm not corn-fed big, I don't think. Yeah.
You're definitely not milk-fed. We'll leave it at that. Although, we like Mickey's Dairy Bar, shout out if you go to Badgers football game. Anyway, I'm already subscribed. I just like you guys on YouTube, so that's all taken care of. And then expectations. I just expect the Brewers to keep on winning. Now, I want them to win the Padres series, of course, and I like the pitching matchups, and thanks for pointing that out, because it does come down to that to a large extent. And then why not 3-1 against the Dodgers? And then I'll bring up one more thing, and I do have to take issue with because you got some excellent takes on the Pack and all that, but we're talking Brewers right now. So Charlie's take about the trade for Naylor being a nothing trade, yeah, we hope it's a nothing trade if nobody gets hurt. But like what just happened with Bay, we lost our whole left side of the infield. So you got to give credit to the Brewers management for being prepared for contingencies and making sure we got a catcher with major league experience waiting in the wings. I mean, come on, they do a good job. That's why we're here. We're not the most talented team. We're just the most successful team, and you got to give that credit
Tony.
to the management.
Tony, I think that statement right there is a really big statement that you made. Thanks for the call. He said they're not the most talented team. They're just the most successful team. And I think to a degree you were 100% right. And a lot of that goes to Pat Murphy. A lot of that goes to these guys busting their tail end to do the job correctly. The one thing that this offense is struggling with and has been for some time, and the reason why they have not peaked or come anywhere close to it is they just can't hit with runners in scoring position consistently here as of late, really for the whole month of August. That is where they got to get back to. If they get back to hitting with runners in scoring position, I think you can take off and see this offense take off to another level. But that is the next step. Wisconsin Sports Fanatic on the Dugout YouTube chat has a lot of things going on. He says, why can't they go with a five-man rotation? The Miz looks like he was missing something. He gave up the long ball. That's going to happen. That pitch, that home run he gave up, that second one, that pitch was right down the middle, about, what was it, waist level, between the knees and the waist? I mean, it was right there. Tee it up, gone, see ya later. And they're a fastball hitting team, the Minnesota Twins. It's not like you didn't know that. And that wasn't 103. What was that, 99? That's a big difference. I'm not worried about Mizorowski. The reason you have a six-man rotation is simple, because you have young arms that you're trying to nurse along so they're still healthy and still able to pitch in the postseason. A lot of these guys are pitching more innings than they've ever pitched in their career in a single inning. So that's why you're playing six. That's why Mizorowski's getting one start a week. That's all he's getting. He's not getting two starts a week. Is Miz mad about it? I don't know. Could he be frustrated? Probably. Is he going to win the Cy Young if he stays healthy? Absolutely, he's going to win the Cy Young. Even if he's pitching once a week or twice a week, he's still going to win it. They're just trying to protect him. They're trying to protect some of these other guys like Logan Henderson, who's always hurt, trying to save him from being hurt again.
Shane Drowan needs to be a part of this rotation for the whole second half of the season. You can't lose him, and all of a sudden are scrambling again. He needs to stay healthy. Yes.
That's another one that needs to stay healthy. So that's why you're in a six-man rotation. You're trying to get to the playoffs so your guys are still healthy and not dog-tired at that point. So Miz is feeling good and 100%. That's part of the reason why he's decided to go with a six-man rotation. And in fairness, I'm not quite sure if that was Pat Murphy's call, if that was Matt Arnold's call, if we're being honest about it. All right, take a quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Looking forward to hearing what he's got today. Don't forget to return to the fan favorite everyone's been asking for. The Pretzel Bacon Pub Cheeseburger is back at Wendy's. Fresh, never frozen beef, creamy beer cheese, Munster cheese, Applewood smoked bacon, and crispy onions, all on a pretzel bun. Add a side of delicious Bacon Pub fries to create a combo so good you'll feel like you're an actual pub after one bite. Limited time only. We are live at the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair, inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you out here till 5 o'clock. Don't forget, get you ready for Brewers coming up tonight against the Padres. We have the leadoff show coming up from 7:30 to 8:30. Then after the last pitch, you make the switch like you've had for 21 seasons now to the franchise Tim Allen with the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show tonight. We'll be on the air till 1 a.m. Tonight talking about the Brewers and Padres. So looking forward to that as well. All right, Charlie, time for your segment. Let's go.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, here we go, Charlie. Where are we going first?
All right, first up, we're going to head on over to NFL Network as they do their kind of journey around the league, going to all the training camps. Stacey Dales and Brian Bollinger were at the Packers camp, and they were talking with Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, and Matt LaFleur was discussing Jordan Love and his ability to get the offense set prior to a play.
Matt, what are the tells that you, because you've spent so much time with Jordan, that you and Jordan speak the same language? Give us a feel for what that's like.
Oh, it's every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in most of those quarterback meetings, and just the conversations, and to watch his growth has been really a fun process. He's a great guy to work with every day. He's so consistent, so even-keeled, and I think that's why in those critical moments he can go out there and perform at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he has the command that you need. I mean, it's everything, just the run game, the run-pass game, the checks, all those kind of things at the line of scrimmage, where you have to be at your best getting yourself into the right play.
He's got to be the best I've been around in terms of protections and adjustments, and rarely does he get out schemed.
Wow.
It's pretty remarkable, and that was all foreign to him coming into the league.
Yep.
And I think having the opportunity to sit back and learn from Aaron and watch him do it at the level he did it, I think was invaluable for him.
Best you've been around, because Aaron Rodgers played some MVP.
And Aaron's
You've
going to
had
get
some
mad about
dudes, man.
this, but no, it's uncanny what he can do
Wow.
at the line of scrimmage with our protection adjustments.
This is the thing here. I feel bad for Matt LaFleur to a certain degree, right? Because anytime he says something where he's best ever or anything of the sort, it's like, oh, are you saying he's better than Aaron Rodgers? Oh, like that, the part of that kind of stinks a little bit. Because he's had a Hall of Fame quarterback. Now he's trying to pump up and get his guy a bunch of confidence here and talk really high about him. And every time he does, it's like, well, is he better than Aaron? Well, is he better than Aaron? And it's like, oh, dog, come on. Can we just let me just talk without you jumping in and analyzing whether or not I'm taking a shot at Aaron Rodgers? Aaron LaFleur, to my best of my knowledge, seem like they're good. Like there's no animosity between those two. Sounds like they're still good. Rodgers making fun of his eyebrows and his hair and all that. I mean, it sounds like there's good. There's nothing there. Now, at the end of McCarthy Rodgers, that felt like that might have been a little contentious and may have gone away a little bit. And now they're back together in Pittsburgh. So it couldn't have been that bad like everybody thought. I just wish everybody would quit that, because that's going to be something that's going to haunt, Jordan Love forever now. Because every time anybody says anything about Jordan Love's the best guy to do this in Packer history. Oh, is he better than Favre? Oh, is he better than Rodgers? Like, that's constantly going to be a thing. Where if he's in some crappy organization, what do they got? Bernie Kosar. That's all they got. There is nobody else in Cleveland to talk about other than Bernie Kosar. And most of the people weren't even alive to watch Bernie Kosar be as good as he was for Cleveland. And Bernie Kosar was a bad, bad man. Let me tell you, I watched Bernie Kosar. Bernie Kosar could play. Yes, he could. But a lot of people don't even remember watching Bernie. Here, it's so recent with Rodgers. It just puts the whole thing in a tough situation, Charlie.
Well, I think from the reporter's point of view, the media member's point of view, like, you can't blame them. You have to bring that up. When he says that Jordan Love is the best at something that he's ever seen his whole career, well, Matt LaFleur, you've coached one of the greatest of all time in Aaron Rodgers. You have to then ask him, is it better than one of the greatest of all time? I think you can say the same thing about Brett Favre, too. Like, if you're going to say Jordan Love is the greatest at this or better than everybody else at this, then when you have two Hall of Fame quarterbacks who are as recent in Packers fans' memories as they are, you have to bring that up. You can't be mad at the media members and let them sit on their hands when you have to ask that question. question.
It's simple. It really is simple. You have to win a damn Super Bowl. You must win a Super Bowl, Jordan Love. Because then all this other stuff stops. All of it. It's done. Because then anybody that wants to take a shot at you after that, you just go one ring. Same as Brett, same as Aaron. They just got to win a Super Bowl with Jordan Love. Have to happen. All right, what's next?
All right, I don't know which one you're going to think is dumber, but first we're going to
I
hear
don't
from...
think we have time for two of them. So
no, we
one.
don't. That's why I wanted to pick one of them. This is Tyler Hero talking about his mindset going into this season with the Milwaukee Bucks.
I probably have the biggest chip on my shoulder I've had in my career coming to Milwaukee. You know, we've been through a lot, and I think just being able to come here with a new slate, brand new, you know, team, brand new organization, brand new coaching staff, like I've said before. We all have chips on our shoulder. You know, Coach Jenkins himself has a chip on his shoulder. The guys who came in and traded with me, like, it's not just about me. I think everyone on the team has a chip. Obviously, there's going to be people who probably don't think we're going to win many games, but, you know, that's the opposite of what we're thinking. We want to win as many games as possible and really set a culture from day one.
All right, man, look. So I figured it out as he was talking. It's talking about Jaime Jaquez, Khalil Ware, and then he brings up Taylor Jenkins. So we're going to call them the Milwaukee Rejects. I mean, every team has guys
Casper
that...
Siakajonas.
Yeah, him too, Casper the Ghost. I mean, you've got all these dudes. Every NBA team, Tyler, has guys that have been cut or traded from another team. Every NBA head coach has been moved on from their team to another team. Maybe outside of Spoelstra. Has Spoelstra been there his whole career? Maybe
think
not
so.
Spoelstra. But most of the other guys in the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, most people do not stay with one team their whole career, right? So let's not make this out to be something bigger than it is. You got moved on from. They haven't wanted you for a number of years. They've been trying to get rid of you, and nobody would take you. And now you found the Bucks to take you and bring you back home. It's not that hard to understand how this has to play. You got to go be the man. That's what has to happen. You got to average 20 to 25 points every single night for this Bucks team going forward. And then you have to have your bags packed at NBA trade deadline to pack up and get the heck out of here when the Bucks trade you. That has to be the mentality.
Or what if they're
can't
winning a
afford
bunch
to
of
sign
games that are competitive and they want to try to make a run for it in the last year with them?
No, absolutely not. That is absolutely not the answer at any point. I don't care if they're the 3 seed. He's out of here. You've got to get draft capital for Tyler Hero before this whole thing is said and done. Did you say we had a break?
Yeah, I said 1 minute before. It's about to be 30 seconds.
We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers, Sleep Newsletter is next.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It is time again. We are live here at the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Thanks for listening around the beautiful state of Wisconsin, whether it be listening to us on the game in Duluth Superior, or you're listening to us on the Fan in Madison, or how about the game out there in Wausau, or WNFL in Appleton and Green Bay, or, of course, the Fan here in southeastern Wisconsin and in Milwaukee. Thanks for everybody checking us out. If you are headed to the State Fair and you got questions, or whatever the case may be, you can always throw them up in the Dugout YouTube chat. Charlie and I can do the best to answer any State Fair questions you may have, as we're out here almost every day, or at least I am. Charlie's in the studio. I get more people asking, where's Charlie? He's in the studio, unfortunately. Can't be out here. Wisconsin Sports Fanatic is over there in the Dugout YouTube chat. Man, I see everything you're putting up there. I can't respond to everything, but I appreciate you listening. I see everything you're saying, and thanks for the kind words for sure. We got to get to Peter Bukowski. This is our guy who, of course, covers the Packers and does a great job with it, with the Locked On Packers podcast that he does. Plus, him and Jason B. Hirschhorn also do the Leap newsletter as well. Let's talk to our guy right now. Our guy, Peter Bukowski, joins us now on the guest hotline.
Peter's going to be 1 second. He's switching over to video real quick.
By the Gruber Law Offices. One call. That is all. Check out Gruber today. Gruber, obviously, also the sponsor of the Milk House. You can get all kinds of different varieties of milk for $1. Plus, they got the brownie, which is absolutely delicious. And as Mitch Thunder Nellis, who's off today, he'll be back tomorrow, and I both will tell you that root beer milk is the best milk in the whole wide world if you want to go check it out. They have other ones. They have S'mores is a new flavor this year. They have Birthday Cake, which I believe is a new flavor this year as well. And I think Red Velvet Cake maybe is the other one that they have as the new milk at the Milk House. So you can definitely check that out when you're out here at the fair. I will also say that when you come out here and you're walking around and you check this all out, I would implore you to try something you've never had before, at least one item, while you're out here at the Wisconsin State Fair. And the reason I implore you to do that is because earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show, when I was filling in for Thunder, Mason's eyes were bugging out of his head as Charlie was telling him the very weird foods he ate at the Wisconsin State Fair. I could see Mason's eyes bugging out of his head like, oh, my God, you were eating what? And I told Mason, I was like, Mason, dude, you've got to figure out some time. Come down here, do a broadcast or two at the Wisconsin State Fair next year, and let's have you try a bunch of random foods. This is literally the only place you're going to get it. What was the thing, Charlie, you said was so good earlier?
The Scotty cone.
Yeah, tell everybody what that is.
A pretzel bread cone that you would like an ice cream cone size. It was filled with ground bratwurst. Caramelized onions were mixed in with that bratwurst. That was delicious. On the inside of the cone, they put mustard and beer cheese along with the bratwurst, and then staked on top with a little Wisconsin flag was a cheese curd that was phenomenal, and all of it was delicious. I ate it all. It was very much worth the price, which sometimes fair food isn't. Sometimes you get you feel you're getting gypped a little bit. This, I did not feel like that. I felt good. I felt like I could eat about 10 more of those, and I think I might before the fair's over.
And there's nowhere else you're going to go to. You're not going to go into a restaurant and order that in any restaurant in Wisconsin. At least not to my knowledge. You can't get that anywhere else. That's why I say, when you come to the fair, try food that you're like, that's nuts. And if you say that's nuts, just one time. You don't have to try everything, but just try one food you can't get anywhere else, and you may actually like it and get down with it. Maybe like, when I come back later this week to the Wisconsin State Fair, because doesn't everybody come more than once normally? Especially if you live in the area, you come like 2 or 3 times to come hang out. It's so big that it takes you time to get around the Wisconsin State Fair and do everything. All right, joining us now, massaging his beard, Peter Bukowski of the Locked On Packers podcast joins us in the Leap newsletter. Mr. Bukowski, I talked to your cohort earlier today on the Mason
I saw that
show, Jason B. Hirschhorn. That was fun. He is no Peter Bukowski, though. You are your own man. We all know this. So, Mr. Bukowski, first things first, talking about this Packers team. Let's start here. This offensive line doesn't look good. So, I'm going to give you the option what I gave earlier. Are you going to go with the green and gold color glasses and go, boy, this defensive line looks good. We're going to get after a bunch of quarterbacks this year. Or are you going to be the negative one and say, this offensive line, I'm kind of concerned about this offensive line. Belton may not be the guy. I'm not so sure Banks can stay healthy. Which side will Peter Bukowski go to?
Do I have to pick one of those sides? Because I'm not sure I fall in either one of those camps. Sparky is the problem. And if you want me to come in with a super strong take, my super strong take is, can we see what they look like when they actually have their guys healthy, at least offensively, with Zach Bakabawele and Aaron Banks coming back? Like, give me a chance to do that. But I think, to your point, there is Aaron Banks. What evidence do we have that he's going to stay healthy? We don't. And with Bakabawele, like, we don't know what his status is coming back from the injury. We don't know what his capability of playing regularly is going to be. He was hurt in and out of the lineup all of last year. And so, like, why are we confident that that's going to work? That would be, I think, where you would start to have concern that some of these backups look like backups. But again, backups are backups for a reason. The question that I think that you're really raising is, like, how nervous should we be if Anthony Belton is not it? When we were told all offseason Anthony Belton is going to be it, and we don't, like Jacob Monk, who they're trying to now push on us, like, hey, we love this guy. He played great in week 18. Like, no, guys, we saw you for 2 years be terrified to put him on the football field. They everything they could do to avoid putting Jacob Monk on the field, and now he's the answer at right guard. Give me a break. So I feel like I am much more concerned about what this offensive line is personnel wise. I also just think Jordan Love was really good last year with a mediocre offensive line. Matt LaFleur has always covered those warts. I think they're going to be fine, but I'm more nervous now than I was 2 weeks ago. I'll tell you that.
So I brought this up earlier, and I want to get Mike Wall on later this week, the former Packer offensive lineman. I want to get his thoughts. Shouldn't Belton have improved somewhat from last year to this year? I mean, isn't there somewhere you can work out with some coach, work out at some big man camp? I know there's a big man camp because I've seen videos of that the last, decade. So yeah. I know there's an offensive lineman camp that a bunch of NFL guys go to. He doesn't look any better than he did last year when he was at guard. And again, it's not athleticism. It's not physical strength. That's not the issue. The issue is technique, footwork, all that stuff, which should have been able to been improved over the offseason. Like, my thing is, did he work out with anybody in the offseason to try and get better?
Yeah, we don't know that right now. We don't have that information. I would love to hear from him or someone about that. I also think, and I said this on Locked On Packers today, I think that they are doing him in particular an enormous disservice with the bouncing around. Like, I don't understand this, Sparky. They cross-train every offensive lineman. Last year, they did not cross-train Anthony Belton. They just had him play tackle. Okay, then he's a tackle. And then in the middle of the season, they're like, oh, shoot, we need a guard. Anthony Belton. He wasn't playing guard until the week he started playing guard. Like, starting. That's crazy. Why would they think that was going to go great? And then in the offseason, okay, he's the guy. He's the right guard. Let's go. And then a week into training camp, it's we got to let him play tackle too. Why? If he's a guard, let him play guard. Let him find a rhythm. And I think they're doing him a disservice by bouncing him around. And maybe the reality is he stinks. Like, maybe he's just not any good. And if he were any good, they'd be fine. Like Jordan Morgan, they tried to play all over. They felt good about him all over. It may just be that Jordan Morgan's a left tackle. He seems to be having a really good camp. Last year, when we saw him play left tackle, he looked pretty good. And so it might just be the case that, yeah, they tried him at guard and they felt like he's a good player, a little bit of like Elton Jenkins syndrome, where it's like, we think he can play everywhere, but this is where he's best. It may be that Anthony Belton is a jack of all trades and a master of none, and that he just doesn't really have a position. And his best position is he's a swing tackle. He could play guard in a pinch. He could play tackle in a pinch, that he's, Lane Taylor or, someone of that ilk. I don't know, but I think it's a bad situation right now with where they have him. And I don't think they're helping the situation with the way they've handled this. And I went on a long screed about this on Twitter today. Like, why do the Packers get the benefit of the doubt with offensive linemen? Matt LaFleur and this coaching staff have screwed this up consistently his entire tenure. So I don't know why we should trust now that they've got the best 5 in the best positions out there. There's no evidence that we should believe that they are a good staff at doing that.
Let's stay right there on the offensive line. Peter Bukowski joins us again at the Leap GB and at Locked On Packers. Make sure to follow him on X as well. So it's not Belton. Now they're on the Monk bandwagon, but Monk is a center, a guy that Charlie really liked, my producer liked last year. He said he could be the future center of this team. I really like Monk. Okay, you played college football and played on the offensive line. I'll take your word. But instead of doing that, they said, no, Sean Ryan, you're going to be our center, and you're going to go from guard, and we're going to teach you how to play a new position. Is it that crazy to think that Ryan and Monk eventually end up switching positions at some point, and Ryan becomes the starting right guard again, and Monk becomes the starting center?
I think if they wanted to do that, they could have done that. Like, they could have just set it up that way. But when they needed a center last year, it was Sean Ryan, not Jacob Monk. And this is my point. 2024, they had opportunities to play Jacob Monk. They said, nah, we're good. 2025, they had opportunities to play Jacob Monk. They said, nah, we're good. Lecitus Smith played in a playoff game. Okay? So I do not buy this at all. Like, oh, a week 18 game changed the way that the Packers view Jacob Monk. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Anthony Belton changed the way that they viewed Jacob Monk. And so this is why, and I have been on this for a couple weeks now, if they don't think Anthony Belton is a capable starter, I do not buy for a moment that they actually think Jacob Monk is that. So maybe they think, Banks comes back, Jagger Burton, right guard. They're good with that if that's the way this shakes out. They need to get on the horn to former Badger Kevin Zeitler, who is still good. I know he's 36 years old, but he's a free agent. He's been a mercenary the last couple of years, knows the NFC North, was in Detroit a couple of years ago. He is still a good player. He would immediately be probably the best guard full stop on this Packers team. And I don't know how much more they need to see. If they don't think Anthony Belton can do it, get on the horn to Zeitler right now. They have the money. It would not be expensive. And you're just a better football team tomorrow if they do that than you were today.
Is Zeitler healthy?
Well, we don't know that with any free agent. We just don't know where he is physically right now. And so that would be the question that he would have to answer. Brian Gutekunst does not have regular media availability, so you can't ask him about it. And so, unless you know Kevin, I don't know how you would get that unless his agent's going to say, yes, he's healthy and ready to go. Maybe I'll text Ian Rappaport and see what he can tell me.
Maybe Zeitler will be walking around the Wisconsin State. I'll just ask him.
Look, he might. He might.
I'll just pull him in and see what I can find out for you.
He's got a cream puff in his hand.
Right, yeah. Peter Bukowski joins us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin State Fair. Let's talk about the other side of the ball, shall we? Let's talk about Keyshawn Nixon. That's another popular topic in all of this. Say Juice and Cisse both have been running with the ones here a little bit. Valentine is banged up with his hamstring. We talked about this earlier. And Jason Hirschhorn was kind of listening to it and kind of, okay, maybe. But, is there a world to where if Valentine is 1 or 2 or 3 of the cornerbacks, and St. Juice and Cisse are both going to play, and Bullard, providing he's healthy, he's in a walking boot apparently, and he's your slot corner, that's 4 corners right there. If he is 5, if it gets to the point where he is 5, and we're at the end of August here, is there a world to where they use him to go get a veteran offensive lineman to come in and play that guard position? Because I cannot imagine, knowing Nixon, that he's going to want to sit there and be the 5th cornerback on this roster. I just don't see how he shuts up and is okay with it, Peter.
Well, you want to return kicks, Keyshawn? Let's go. You want to be an All-Pro again? Let's see it. No, I think you're right. And this same thought crossed my mind. This is not a crazy idea at all. I think the problem for the Packers is injuries at that position are just so harmful. And the Packers saw it, right? Like last year, Nate Hobbs was supposed to be a big part of this team, could not stay on the field. They wanted to give Kamal Haddon a run at it last year, and they get him in a rotation with Carrington Valentine. Haddon immediately has a gruesome leg injury, breaks his leg, and so they got to put Valentine back on the field. So I think a potential Nixon trade would be predicated on the not so much the top, because I think Brandon Cisse is going to be your day 1 starting corner for the Green Bay Packers, and he is not giving that job back. It's also worth noting here, Sparky, Benjamin St-Juste is under contract in 2027. Guess who isn't? Keyshawn Nixon. So I think the Packers are telegraphing how they want this cornerback competition to play out. And the fact that Nixon is already getting subbed out with St-Juste, I think that is a pretty telling thing. And then, like you said, Valentine and Jalen Simpson, by all accounts, having a really good camp. So that's just another name to throw in the mix here, in addition to Bullard, who's the nickel and the backup safety and all those things. If they thought they could get something of value for Keyshawn Nixon, absolutely, I think you have to explore that. And, or if you think he's going to be a problem. If you think...
I lost him. Do we have him, Charlie?
I think his mic got muted for some reason.
I didn't do it.
Oh, there he is. He just said he didn't do it. He's back. All right,
I got an alert on my thing that said your mic is muted. I didn't do it. But so anyway, the moral of the story is, if they think he's going to be a problem, then yeah. But here's the other thing, Sparky. If you think he's going to be a problem, I don't want him in the building, period. Get him out. Like, he's not a good enough player to be a problem in the locker room. So either it needs to be like Matt LaFleur needs to go full The Rock and tell Keyshawn to know his role and shut his mouth, or you got to get him out of there.
Exactly right. That the noise you hear in the background is somebody else with maybe heat stroke. People have been dropping a little bit out here in the sun and so forth. The clouds are out a little bit now, but some heat issues from some people here at the Wisconsin State Fair. Okay, I got one more for you, and that is the kicker position with Trey Smack. We got to talk about that. Mason and I talked about that earlier today on the Mason Crosby Show. Are you confident they made the right decision going with a rookie kicker, no competition currently, and not having a veteran kicker in here and letting him figure out Lambeau Field come fall and winter time on his own, when Super Bowls are pretty much the expectation going forward after LaFleur and Goody got extensions?
I will tell you, I really, really like Trace Mack. And our Locked On Gators host texted me when the Packers picked him. And he said, the text was unprompted. He texted me and said, Trace Mack, the GOAT, I would die for him. So that tells you how Florida fans feel about Trace Mack. This is someone who last year was 5 of 6 from 50 plus, and had a little bit of inconsistencies from the 40. But this is a guy too who was a lacrosse player in high school, and then COVID changed his whole life. He started kicking field goals, and within a year, he was the #1 kicker in the nation in high school. And so he's kind of a bit of a child prodigy when it comes to kicking. I think there's going to be some inconsistencies. But family night, like, he's kicking it from 62 like it's nothing. And if you don't have a kicker that can make these 50-plus yard kicks, you don't have a kicker. I was saying that all of last year. Like, we didn't trust Brandon McManus beyond like 45 yards. Well, then you are at a net disadvantage with the rest of the league if that's your situation. And I think there are a lot of similarities, actually. And maybe Mason would take issue with this. But he reminds me a lot of Mason Crosby. Because I do think there are going to be some misses where you just go, dude, come on. But I also think when he needs to make them in the big moments, because this was a thing at Florida, and when you need him to make a 55-yarder to jumpstart your offense, he can do that. And I think that is one of those things that the Packers just have lacked. And if you go back and you look at the last 10 kickers for the Green Bay Packers, Ryan Longwell in 1997, the Packers go to the Super Bowl with a rookie kicker. And in Mason's first year, they went to the NFC Championship game, and they didn't lose because of Mason Crosby. So the Packers have had success in moments where, like, they had Chris Jackie won a Super Bowl and moved on and went to the Super Bowl again the next year with a rookie. So this is not like new thing here for the Packers. And so that's Ron Wolf, that's Ted Thompson, and now Brian Gutekunst has his version of this. So we'll see how it works. I don't have a problem with it. Can you tell me, someone told me Mason had an issue with the Cam Achord like kicker thing. Do you know what his issue was?
I didn't get into that at all with him. So that was probably last week was my guess. He and I did not talk about that. The one thing he and I did talk about today, though, is, and I asked him, because, like, kickers are disrespected and all that stuff. I was like, I get the special teams coach, but how much really are they going to help a kicker know how to kick? Like, there's no way I'm buying that. I was like, so why don't you all have your own coach that's, like, in charge of kickers? And he's like, it's a great point. Absolutely. And then he brought up the fact that in Baltimore, they've had a guy that has been doing just that. I can't remember his first name. His last name is Brown. He's been doing just that since John Harbaugh took over and helped to get Justin Tucker to where Justin Tucker was throughout his time. He's like, they did it.
Like having a shooting coach. Yeah,
John
like the
Harbaugh
NBA has
is-
shooting coaches.
Yeah, Randy Brown. That's who it is. But John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator for his whole career before getting that job. So he understood what was needed. To me, it doesn't feel like it's a respected team at all from Goody and from Matt LaFleur. I feel like listening to these guys talk, like, oh, I'll talk to kickers, that nonsense last year. To me, it feels like it's more of a nuisance to both of those two guys than it is something we have to get right.
Yeah, and that has been something that the Packers have been trying to fight against for a long time now, right? Like some of the preseason or the offseason stuff. Hey, they went on and got Sky Moore. I think that matters. Like they've tried. They went in and got Rich Bisaccia. They're trying to feign toward caring about this stuff. I just think the reality is they don't. I think that Brian Gutekunst is very much of the Ted Thompson school, that your special teams players are your young players waiting to be developed into something else. And you just cycle them through, and that's the way that this works. And part of that is, the Packers haven't had core special teams players in a long time. Like the era of Lamont Hollenquest was a long time ago now. Like they just don't have guys like that anymore. And I don't have a good explanation for why that is. And maybe that question needs to be asked more. Brian Gutekunst, the Packers tried, like Dallin Leavitt was supposed to be that guy. Keyshawn Nixon was supposed to be like a backup corner, primary special teams guy. They didn't even know he could return kicks when they signed him. So I think Christian Welch and Nick Neiman, linebacker signings this year, were it's aimed at the special teams. But to your point, I don't know that they actually internally care about it as much as they want us to think they do publicly. I think I like Cam, the new special teams coach, but is anything going to change? I don't have any reason to believe anything is going to change. I was just looking up on the Giants website to see if they have a new kickers coach, and it doesn't seem like they do in New York. So John Harbaugh, who's now in New York, did he bring that kicker coach with him? Do they have someone? I'm gonna have to like triple check.
But that makes sense. And the thing that was brought up earlier too by Mason was, hey man, now the NFL is saying you can have somebody designated to throw the damn challenge flag, that it's not going to be on the coach. To which I said, but wait a second, like, don't you have somebody that's just up there already doing this and then making the call, and then LaFleur's either going, okay, I'll do it, and then spiking it as hard as he can into the ground, or not doing it. If you want to help Matt LaFleur, it's not there. To help Matt LaFleur, you need somebody to help him manage the time, manage late game situations. And Mason goes, well, they already got that. I go, well, then he should be fired because he sucks, and they should replace that person with somebody else. That's
technically Connor Lewis, but then they promoted him, and I don't know that they backfilled that specifically. LaFleur will tell you it's Connor Lewis, but it doesn't seem like it is. And I don't know, like, I have some understanding of the way the analytics works in that building, and LaFleur will listen to it times and listen to it not other times.
Peter, this is the deal. If I had somebody that was going to help me with time management at the end of games, do you know what this person would look like? He would look grayer than me, and I have a lot of gray hair. It would be some old gray-haired guy that's been in the NFL for 40 years, that's seen every situation play out in his life, and he's going to stand over there on the sidelines, sipping on coffee, waiting to go help the youngster Matt LaFleur and tell him how to do his job. That's it. I don't want some 20-something-year-old out there, the first gig, trying to figure it out and do what the numbers say. No, I want some old dude that's been through it, could care less about your numbers.
We're not going to agree on this, Sparky. I think that what you need is a 22-year-old who plays Madden 18 hours a day and who knows what all the situations look like. Like, I just feel like if you play this was like a Bill Simmons running bit. Like, coaches need to play more Madden because they'd understand how to manage the 2-minute drill better, when to use your timeouts, when not to. Like, they need that. They need someone to be like, hey, call a timeout. What are you doing? Or, hey, try and go score here. Like, those kinds of things. And Ryan Paganetti, who's on Twitter right now and doing a great job providing insight, he was that guy for the Eagles and Jaguars for Doug Peterson, and then worked with Pete Carroll the other day, or last season. And he said one of the things in 2016 when the Falcons blew that Super Bowl, he said when they were in the Super Bowl the next year with the Eagles, that he was on the mic with the head coaches going, these are the situations we need to avoid. We have to avoid these situations. And they had a chance to go for the dagger, the touchdown. He said, look, more bad things happen than good things here. And he's a young guy. And he was like, you play for the field goal. And they did it, and they won them the game. So I just you need forward-thinking people in those seats, not just people that have seen it all, because those are the guys that usually screw this up.
I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you. I ain't getting down with putting some Madden play in. Man is. I ain't doing it.
I want Doritos still on his fingers, Sparky.
My 19-year-old is like pretty high ranked or whatever in Madden.
He can do it.
Out there helping my coach. Hell,
he can do it.
Absolutely. No. Why are you doing this? You're not that young, Peter Bukowski. You shouldn't be imploring for young guys to get these jobs.
I'm not.
Oh,
now, see, do you know what just happened? God just turned your microphone off, Peter. That's what just happened. God just turned your microphone off.
No.
That take. Oh, now you're back. See? Now
I got a call while we were doing this, and my computer picked it up. It's my fault.
It was God. Stop
it was
like that, Peter. That's what it was. He was trying to help you. Peter Bukowski, what can people find with the Leap Green Bay newsletter and, of course, Locked On Packers?
The Leap.football is the website. Locked On Packers is the podcast. Locked On Sports Today every day. It's like the first 15 minutes of Sports Center. Get all your big stories. Get up to date on all the big happenings in sports. Locked On Sports Today, wherever you find podcasts. Bang.
Bang. There he is, Peter Bukowski. Thank you so much. I appreciate it as always.
Thanks, guys.
There goes Peter Bukowski on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call. That's all. My God. Here, Charlie, go help Matt LaFleur run his team because you play Madden.
I don't play it nearly as much as what he was suggesting or what I think your 19-year-old does. You're gonna go home. He's gonna have a resume ready to go. Hey, can you get this to the Packers for me? Hand this to John Kuhn. He can handle it.
I don't know what good is. But, however many people play Madden, like one point, I think he was like top 300 or something like that.
That's pretty damn good, yeah.
Yeah,
no matter,
he wasn't like one or anything, but.
Top 300 is great. A lot of people play Madden. So.
Yeah, at one point, that's where he was a couple of years ago. Okay, I want to talk about our friends over there at Habish and Rotier. They've been doing this since 1930, helping injured Wisconsinites. And again, if you're involved in a car accident and you're hurt, right? Car is totaled, you're in the hospital, you got doctor bills mounting and all of this stuff. It can be a scary, scary time. I've told this story before. It's happened to me. Going down I-94, going to Kenosha, flatbed trailer sideswipes me from the slow lane. I spin around into oncoming traffic at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I get plowed into by a semi going about 75 or 80. Probably should have been dead. Thankfully, I wasn't. But when you go through something like that, it changes your whole world. It changes everything, right? And you are shook to the core when you go through something like that. And you need people that you can trust, people that you know are going to do right by you and have your best interests in mind. Habish, and Rotier. Check them out today. Go to Habish.com. National reputation, hometown service. National reputation, why? They win a lot of cases. They've helped to create a lot of safety laws in Wisconsin for the cases they've won. Hometown service, that's the most important part that you and I should care about at the end of the day. They're approachable. They go to the wall for everybody to try and get them the best deal. They're not looking through you like you don't care when you go to one of their offices. Again, 13 locations around the state of Wisconsin. Check them out today at Habish.com. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Live from the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Don't forget, leadoff show comes up tonight at 7:30 ahead of Brewers Padres. Game number 1 of that series coming up tonight. Then after the last pitch, like you've done for 21 seasons, the franchise, Tim Allen and myself will be here to take your calls, take your comments after Brewers Padres Game 1. We'll be on the air to 1 a.m. tonight, so come hang out with us tonight. What are you laughing at?
I didn't see this text earlier, but when I was talking about Dustin May versus Robbie Ray, I said May versus Ray. That's just fun to say. And then somebody said, that's Charlie Susan. I like that.
That's nice. Good. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Brewers here before we get to our In Case You Missed It segment. The Athletic put together a piece today talking about toughest schedules left in Major League Baseball for those that are kind of in the race and so forth. Toughest schedule left in Major League Baseball are the Milwaukee Brewers, have the toughest remaining schedule. Their strength of schedule the rest of the way is 521 as far as games that are left. And obviously a big series coming up here with the Dodgers. But you look at the rest of August, the Padres for 3, the Dodgers for 4. We talked about that earlier in the show. Then you come home, you get a day off Monday. Then you get the Mariners for 3 games. You get the Braves for 3 games as well. And then you're back on the road against the Mets, not as bad. And then home against the Rangers to round out all the way through August 30th. Then you start a 4-game set at Wrigley against the Cubs starting on August 31st. You just wonder how much the schedule will play into how good the Brewers do, the rest of the way here as far as not only winning this division, which I still feel very confident will happen, but as far as that overall number 1 seed in Major League Baseball. Because we have to remember something. That old number 1 overall seed is a very, very important thing for this Brewers baseball team right now. Not only does it get you a bye, but it gets you out of having to deal with Chicago if they hold the 1 seed as the wild card. That is the biggest thing here. So then if you do end up having to deal with the Cubs, it will be because they potentially beat the Dodgers maybe, and then you will only have to worry about taking on the Cubs in the NLCS at the end of the day. If you were to get there, maybe you get Philly instead of the Cubs or the Padres or somebody else in that scenario. That's why that 1 seed is still pretty important in my mind, even though it didn't work out last year, Charlie. I still think it has some relevance, but it's going to be harder to do than some of these other teams.
I think so. And I think with the Milwaukee Brewers, while that 1 seed is nice to have, I also don't feel like they think it's necessary. What I like about the schedule coming up here for the Milwaukee Brewers is that, yes, you do have a lot of hard teams, but after you go against San Diego and Los Angeles, you get to play Seattle, who hasn't been as competitive nearly this season as they were last year. Yes, then you go play Atlanta at home. That's going to be a tough series. But then
remember, that Atlanta series, you only get 2 at home. That third one is that Little League game in Williamsport. So that counts as a home game technically, but it's not going to be at American Family Field. So there's going to be travel, leaving, getting there, and then playing that game.
Well, and playing Atlanta, no matter what, is a tougher series.
Yes.
No matter where you are. But then you get New York and Texas back-to-back after that, and you feel like you can kind of rebound back with that. Then you get Chicago, but then you get Cincinnati. Then you get Chicago again, then you get Cincinnati. You keep going on this roller coaster up and down, which I think some people get worried about with the Milwaukee Brewers because that's just kind of how they play in general. It feels like a roller coaster ride sometimes. But I think with this, at least you get the tough series, get a little bit of a break, get to work back up to getting back into those tough series. I think that gets you prepared for the playoffs a lot better too. So when talking about the number 1 seed and whether or not they need that, I think their second half of the season here kind of helps get them ramped up while also giving them a little bit of rest heading into the playoffs. Rest that I don't think they needed or need nearly as much as they needed last year going into that playoff round.
When you look at the rest of the NL with strength of schedule, so the Brewers right now sit at 521 winning percentage left. The Dodgers winning percentage left on their schedule is 484. That is significant between those two. The Braves, 509. The Braves right on the heels like the Dodgers are. They're like 3 games behind the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cubs' strength of schedule on the way out is 500 at this point, so they don't necessarily have an easy schedule. The Phillies, 502. The Dodgers, 496. The Padres, 499. I mean, so for the most part, a lot of these teams are relatively close, but the one that definitely has the easiest schedule of the ones the Brewers care about is definitely the Los Angeles Dodgers at this point, Charlie. And that's a team that can roll off a bunch in a short amount of time. I know they've lost 10 of 15 or something crazy like that. And they're talking to them, hey, are you guys worried? They're like, no, we're really good. We'll be fine. We're not worried. Meanwhile, us Brewers fans are freaking out because we lose a game to somebody like the world's going to end. And realistically, it doesn't matter that much, right? You just want to win the division, potentially have that 1 seed, and then see what happens. That's the other part of this is they're going to rest guys. They are. I promise you. Right now, they're going to have a 6-man rotation resting arms. When you start getting into September, I think then you might see Yelich sitting a little bit more, trying to get some of these other guys some additional at-bats and trying to get Yelich as healthy as possible if he is tired or worn down or whatever the case may be, to get him ready, for the last week or so of September to get some more at-bats in. And you could justify by going, hey, we pretty much have everything wrapped up. Christian, we just want you to sit. We're only going to play you a couple days a week. Get some other guys some much-needed at-bats here down the stretch. Get into a little bit of a flow. Then once we get into the postseason, then we'll put you back into the lineup. You could see Yelich sit a little bit more. You could see Contreras sit a little bit more in September to give Gary Sanchez a little bit more run here too. I wouldn't be surprised to see Carroll maybe come up as that third catcher, or Bo Naylor, to give Contreras a day off or two, knowing you are definitely not playing, you are watching, and it's going to be Naylor and Sanchez between catcher and backup catcher. I think that could be a possibility too.
And I think that for this Milwaukee Brewers team could be really exciting in terms of the Christian Yelich taking a rest, is that you can play it as Pat Murphy as, oh yeah, you're a veteran. We just need to give you that time, get you ready and healthy for the playoffs going around there. But you can also kind of under the cover use it as, oh, let's see if Joey Ortiz can continue to stay hot if we give him a full 2 weeks of playing, or an Andrew Vaughn if we let him play every single day. What happens then? And then come playoff time, one of those guys is really hot and you feel good about him. Well, Christian, they just got hot. We have to keep playing that hot hand. We have to figure this out. It gives you an out. It gives you a way to move on from Christian Yelich in this lineup if you don't feel like he's being productive leading up to that point, which he just hasn't been able to so far. And I think with the catching position, that's truly giving William Contreras that rest, but a rest that he needs. Because so far, like you talked about with Mason Crosby, with Jack Stern, it just feels like you're not getting the true William Contreras at the plate that we've seen over the past few seasons. That's going to be huge to eventually give him a little bit of time off so that he can continue to be that guy. And then when it comes to playoff time, you're not worrying about whether or not you need to put Gary Sanchez in over him, but just that he's ready to go and is his best self come playoff time.
Exactly right. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so pointed out to me on the text message line here is about the NFL playoff bracket, which is rightly said. So to correct myself here, so if you end up with the 1 seed, you get the winner of the 4-5 matchup, and then the 2 seed gets the winner of the 3-6. That means that the third division winner that doesn't get the bye plays that 6th wild card, and then the 4 and 5, which would be the number 1 and 2 wild cards, would play each other. So if you're the 1, you actually do get the Cubs versus whoever they get. So in that case, I take it back. Maybe they are better off being the 2 seed to avoid playing the Cubs and avoid having to do what you had to do last year.
And again, maybe get some momentum going behind your bats if you feel like some of these guys heading out of September are feeling pretty good, that you can keep them going and not force them to take that break.
I just don't like trying to, I want to win and go all the way in. But how do you stop the emotional disaster that happened last year if you get the Cubs again in the beginning? We've talked about this. Not to mention, the Cubs after last year are going to be way up here in the intensity level, trying to get payback for what happened last year in the playoffs and how you celebrated on them and all that other stuff. And then you're going to try and match it, and then you're going to have to come back potentially and play the Dodgers after that, which was a disaster last year because you emotionally were spent by the time that series got done. Yes, you beat the Cubs. That was awesome. But that essentially ended up being your World Series. I would love to avoid that if at all possible this year.
Well, I just think last season, though, for this Milwaukee Brewers team, and even with Pat Murphy, he may not say it out in front of the public, but it felt like beating the Cubs, especially in the playoffs, was a goal of theirs, and that they wanted to be able to go out there and show a lot of people that had continuously doubt them year in, year out, despite them being one of the best teams in baseball every single year, it feels like that they are the leaders of the NL Central. This year, it doesn't feel like those Cubs series have had that same kind of juice behind them. It kind of feels like the Brewers are now in a spot where they know they're leading this division, and that everybody kind of understands that too, and that the Cubs are the team that's always going to be chasing them, as of right now at least. That going into this series, I think you don't have to match their energy. You don't have to match the kind of anger that the Cubs are feeling. You have to go out there and kind of play it like the Dodgers, with that mindset that we're going to be okay. We're a really good team that can play really good baseball, and we're better than the Cubs. We know that. Let's go out there and do our jobs and not get freaked out by them trying to play up and play with this super high energy, that when they make mistakes inevitably, because they're having and playing with that type of energy, that we capitalize on those mistakes and we keep a cool head. I think that's the mindset you have to go in with.
He's Charlie Houston, C. Sparky Fiber with you. Don't forget Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. 2 levels, 2,000 square foot center screen, 30 sporting events showing up at one time. Plus, they got all the UFC fight nights. They jack up the volume in there. It's a good time. Full menu at the Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen, all-day brunch. You can have steak and eggs, pancakes, whatever you want. And over 40 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails to go along with it, homemade pastries and desserts at the Potawatomi Sportsbook each and every day. Reserve your seat online. Take a shuttle to and from Brewers home games while you're there. More details, all of that, go to Potawatomi.com. There is not a better place anywhere in the Midwest to go watch a sporting event than the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Come back, wrap it up. Don't forget, leadoff show comes up tonight at 7:30. Sparky here at the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, live out here at the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Come on out here, hang out, do your thing at the Wisconsin State Fair. All kinds of great food, local bands playing all over the Wisconsin State Fair, all really good stuff. Also, maybe on your way home from the Wisconsin State Fair, you stop over at Wendy's. This year at Wendy's, they're calling fall early with the new Apple Crumble Frosty Fusion. Because why wait for the calendar when you can start your favorite season today? Creamy vanilla frosty blended with spiced apple syrup and crunchy oat crumble. Everything fall lovers crave in one cold, creamy spoonful. Available for a limited time at Wendy's. Tomorrow we'll be back out here again. Mitch Thunder Nellis will be out here with the Mason Crosby Show tomorrow from noon until 2. I'll be out here tomorrow afternoon from 2 until 5 with the Wisconsin Sports Daily. Tonight, the leadoff show here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network gets underway at 7:30 to 8:30. We get you ready for Game 1 between the Brewers and Padres. I'll be hosting that. And then after the last pitch, you make the switch, like you've done for 21 years, to the franchise. Tim Allen, along with myself, doing the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show tonight. We'll be on the air till 1 a.m. tomorrow morning doing the postgame tonight. So looking forward to that as well. That'll about do it for today's Wisconsin Sports Daily. Charlie Using, you did a great job. You're with me on Mason Crosby Show today. You're with me here this afternoon doing this. You got Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up all ready to rock and roll coming up from 5 until 6. All the best stuff from earlier today will be on from 5 to 6. And hope everybody enjoys the rest of your night. I saw there's some rather severe weather potentially headed this way. So if you're coming down to the State Fair or if you're at the State Fair listening to us, make sure you keep your eyes and become weather aware on the radar so everybody stays safe tonight. Enjoy the rest of your night, Wisconsin. That'll do it for Wisconsin Sports Daily, broadcasting live at the Wisconsin State Fair inside the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Have a good night, Wisconsin. Toodles.